Chapter 773. What's wrong? Are you? Seeing Mario's appearance, everyone laughed. Was the system doing this on purpose? How could it be so coincidental? Damn, I'm the leader of the Flaming Red Battle Team. Mario took out his team card gloomily. Sure enough, it showed the number 009552, Flaming Red Battle Team. Wang Yu couldn't help but say with contempt, "What kind of lousy name is that? It's 100 times better than your name. Motley crew, trying to cover up only makes it more conspicuous." How treacherous, Mario said with a middle finger. Mingdu said with a smile, "Since you know that the opponent is us, I think you should just give up. It will save everyone trouble." Who do you think you are? How dare you say such big words? Before Mario could answer, a short-haired player next to him said coldly, "Hey, who are you? Do you want to die?" Mingdu had a bad temper. Except for people like Chuanjin, he had never been talked to like this by outsiders. When he heard this, he immediately grabbed his staff and was about to attack. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, hurriedly explained, "This is our captain, Mo Xiaobei. Old Nyo, take care of Old Li. Old Li, sit back down." With that said, Wang Yu reached out and pressed Mingdu down on the seat. Wang Yu's strength was so great that Mingdu couldn't move no matter how hard he struggled. Mo Xiaobei raised her face and stared at Mingdu. She clenched her fists and said, Let him go. I'll beat him until his teeth fall all over the floor." Is it a woman?" Seeing the short-haired player's delicate face, Mingdu hurriedly came to a stop. Mo Xiaobei's voice was quite rough and her hairstyle was masculine. If they didn't see her face, it would be difficult to recognize that she was a girl. "So what if she's a woman? Are you not convinced?" Mo Xiaobei seemed to have been poked at her sore spot and stared at Mingdu again. "Fine, a good man doesn't fight with a woman. You can continue calling me that." Mingdu sneered and turned his head away. It wasn't that Mingdu had tender feelings for the fairer sex, but hitting a woman in public, no matter who won or lost, would be laughed at by his companions. That's right, the Chuanjin guys loved to mock each other. Back then, Old Li liked the second male lead, Sasuke, in a certain ninja manga. The Chuanjin guys laughed at Mingdu for several years because the male lead wore black silk leggings. "Bei, stop arguing." The rolling Mario caught Mo Xiaobei and said to Wang Yu and the others, "Your Chuanjin is very strong, but we aren't weak either. It's still unknown who will emerge victorious." "Is that so? Good luck," Wuji said with a smile. A bunch of arrogant guys." Mo Xiaobei was annoyed again. The rolling Mario said with a serious expression, "Everyone, don't underestimate the enemy. These guys have real skills, especially that Grandmaster of Combat. He's the legendary Iron Ox. This guy is very fierce. He can fight head-on. He can wipe out our entire team by himself." The rolling Mario and Chuanjin had fought together before. He knew that these guys were experts among experts in terms of individual strength and tactical layout. F***CK, this is Iron Ox? Is this for real? Is his strength really that exaggerated? Another assassin from the Red Flame squad called by Yutong said. The rolling Mario nodded and said, "Yes, I've seen this guy's strength with my own eyes. We can't fight them head-on. We have to outsmart them. Let me choose the map later." Mo Xiaobei moved her wrist in disdain and said, I want to meet the so-called number 1 Grandmaster of Combat." Although Mo Xiaobei was a woman, she was very competitive. Hearing Mario, who was rolling on the ground, said that, she felt even more unbearable. "Don't mess around. This guy isn't an ordinary person." The rolling Mario said cautiously. "Really?" Mo Xiaobei's tone was filled with disbelief. Seeing Mo Xiaobei's expression, the rolling Mario's face darkened and said, "You have to listen to my commands when we enter the field. Otherwise, you won't be able to participate in the competition." Mo Xiaobei heard that the rolling Mario was serious and immediately became listless. She drooped her head and said, All right, who asked you to be the leader? The meaning of Mo Xiaobei's words was clear. She was only obeying orders. She wasn't satisfied with Wang Yu. After nearly an hour, Chuanjin finally received the battle preparation news. Wang Yu and the others sat upright. Once the time was up, the rolling Mario and the others were teleported into the field. System notification. 003318 Ragtag Bunch Battle Team against 009552 Red Flame Battle Team. The time of the match is 40 minutes. The team that destroys the opponent during this time wins. The team with the highest number of points wins. If the score is the same, it will be a draw. Now, the home team will choose the map. The biggest difference between the competitive stage and the knockout stage, aside from the arena competition becoming a field competition, was the home team and away team. As the home team, they had the right to choose the map. As the saying goes, the right time, the right place, and the right people work together. The terrain was still very important to the team. Map selected. Thorn's Illusion Formation. Following the cold system notification, everyone's scene changed. They were teleported to a brown scene. The ground was covered in thorns that were over a meter tall. It was a desolate scene. Fuck, which team is this? How can they be so wasteful? They exposed this map so early. When the spectating members of Thorn City saw the arena's map change, they couldn't help but curse out loud. Fuck, it's Red Flame Battle Team. Isn't that Mo Xiaobei? These bastards aren't newbies. Why did they use this map first? Someone pointed at the players on the big screen. This group of trash knows they can't use it, so they want to trick us. Thorn's Illusion Formation was a level 40 map in Thorn City. Because this map was very strange, everyone planned to use it as a secret weapon, saving it for later. Who would have thought that on the second day of the competitive stage, someone would use this map? Seeing the Thorn City players so angry, Yu Huiqing's players were also puzzled. Wasn't it just a lousy map? Was there a need to be so anxious? At this time, Chuanjin's group had already entered the map. Of course, they couldn't hear the voices outside. Carefully observing the surroundings, Wuji muttered, "This map is so dark." Thorn's Illusion Formation's terrain was a plain, but it was overgrown with thorns, making it a very good cover. It was not inferior to a forest terrain. Moreover, everyone was familiar with Rolling Mario. They knew that this guy's ideas were much better than Wuji's. Facing a strong opponent like Chuanjin, this guy definitely wouldn't choose a random map. At the same time, on the other side of the map, Rolling Mario said to Mo Xiaobei, "Xiaobei, you're the strongest. Go and activate the mechanism. We have to kill them one by one." "Which one first?" Mo Xiaobei asked. Chapter 774. We can't touch the Grandmaster of Combat? Why? Mo Xiaobei had already planned to give Wang Yu a show of strength. When she heard the Rolling Mario tell her not to move, she immediately felt a little unhappy. "No reason," Rolling Mario said sternly. "Not only can you not touch him, all our actions have to go around him. Otherwise, we'll all be doomed." "But, no buts. If you don't obey my orders, I won't participate in the following matches even if we win this time," Rolling Mario said sternly again. "All right." Although Mo Xiaobei was the captain, she still obeyed the orders of the tactical corps, Mario. After assigning the tasks, Mo Xiaobei plunged into the thistles. Seeing that Mo Xiaobei had disappeared, the others quickly followed her and walked towards the Quan Jin sex group. Mo Xiaobei followed the thistles all the way to the spawn point of the Chuanjin team. As a battlefield, the illusory thorns formation was not too big. It was similar to a normal arena map. It was a standard circular battlefield. If there were no thorns or other obstacles, one could see the end of the battlefield at a glance. At this time, the Chuanjin team stopped at the spawn point. "Are we just going to wait here?" The match had started for a few minutes, but Wuji did not allow them to move forward. Mingdu was getting impatient. Wang Yu said, "That Mario is very cunning. He must have a trick for choosing this map. If we move forward rashly or scatter, we might be ambushed by him. In the end, Wang Yu added, I'm not afraid. I'm just afraid that you guys can't do it. F***ck. Everyone rolled their eyes. To place one's pride, he said doubtfully, is that Mario really as good as you guys say? Yes. This person's tactical knowledge is very high, not below mine, Wuji said in a deep voice. The last time Chuanjin succeeded in breaking out of Thorn City, it was rolling Mario's idea. To be able to think of an idea that even Wuji could not think of, it showed how cunning this person was. Is he really that powerful? I think that kid looks like a retard. To place one's pride, hearing Wuji's evaluation of the rolling Mario was somewhat incredulous. This fella Wuji had very few people in his eyes. This was the first time he had received such an evaluation. He looks like a retard. Then what does Mingdu look like? Wuji replied indifferently. To place one's pride turned his head and took a look at Mingdu before shutting his mouth immediately. Humph. You're about to die, but you're still so arrogant. Mo Xiaobei looked at the chatting Chuanjin people and snorted coldly. Then, with a light punch, she scattered a cluster of dark thorns beside her. The thorny bushes disappeared, revealing a dark control panel. The control panel was very simple. At the front of the panel, there was a muzzle similar to the one used by Fishing Master. Behind the muzzle was a joystick and a red button. It should be used to adjust the direction and attack. Mo Xiaobei aimed the muzzle at Yang Na, who was at the back of the Chuanjin team. Then, she gently pressed the red button. Immediately, an inconspicuous brown teleportation array appeared under Yang Na's feet. Do you guys hear a sound over there? At this moment, Wang Yu, who had been listening in all directions, suddenly pointed to the thorns on the right and asked, What sound? Hearing this, everyone followed Wang Yu's direction and looked to the right. However, the thorns were a blur in this kind of terrain. What was even stranger was that even Wuji's glasses couldn't see clearly. Little Yang, use your eagle eyes to look. Wang Yu turned his head and shouted at Yang Na. As the only archer in Chuanjin, Yang Na's role at this time was to use binoculars. However, after Wang Yu shouted for a long time, Yang Na didn't respond at all. To place one's pride, he looked back and exclaimed, Huh? Sister Shui is gone. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly looked back and saw that the position where Yang Na was just now was empty. After sending a message in the team channel, the system prompted, The other party is not in the service area. F***ck, what's going on? Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. At this time, in the thorns on the other side, when Mo Xiaobei saw that Yang Na had disappeared, she laughed in the team channel and said, Quick, go to the coordinates. I caught a woman. Okay. Activate plane conversion. Mario, who was rolling on the ground, replied. Mo Xiaobei then stepped on a black switch under the control panel. Mario and the others immediately disappeared from the scene and reappeared in the same scene. F***ck, the people of Thorn City are so shameless. Outside the arena, the players who were staring at the big screen of the competition were stunned when they saw this scene. Then, they started cursing. This Thorn's illusory array turned out to be a plane map. A plane map could be used to teleport players to another parallel space through a mechanism. It was not that Yu Huiqing's players had not seen this kind of thing before. The final boss of the Sunset Peak Camp dungeon could enter different planes, so it was not surprising that Thorn City had a similar scene. However, it was still acceptable to have such a thing for a boss, but it was a bit shameless for players to use this kind of map in a competition. If this continued, the opponents would be teleported one by one to another plane and defeated one by one. How were the away players going to play? Fortunately, Scarlet Flame Battle Team had used this map in the competition. Otherwise, who knew what would happen to the other players later on? The switch to control the plane is in the thorns on the right. As a spectator, Mu Zixin could naturally see it clearly, so she quickly sent a message to Wang Yu. However, as soon as Wang Yu and the others entered the arena, it was as if they had entered another server. No matter how Mu Zixin and Exquisite Dreams messages or shouted in the guild channel, the system would uniformly say, "Not in the service area." At this time, on the big screen in the arena, Yang Na and the Scarlet Flame battle team had already met face to face. The 9 players, led by Mario, surrounded them from all directions. Damn it! Thorn City's players are shameless. Exquisite Dream couldn't help but curse when she saw the 9 men surrounding Yang Na. When the Afterglow City players heard Exquisite Dream's words, it was as if they had found a soul mate. They gave Exquisite Dream a friendly glance and began to curse, "Thorn City, you shameless bastard." At this time, it was clear that the region was united. Although everyone looked down on each other during Yu Huiqing's time, now that an outsider was bullying a girl from their own city, everyone was indignant. They began to point their middle fingers at Thorn City. The scattered curses slowly became uniform, with the momentum of an avalanche. The Thorn City players were also in despair. Although there was nothing too deceitful in war, Scarlet Flame battle team's methods were too shameless. Being cursed like this, they couldn't find a reason to refute, so they could only bite the bullet and endure. Finally, a hot-tempered player couldn't take it anymore and loudly shouted, "It's Scarlet Flame battle team that's playing dirty. What does it have to do with us?" Chapter 775. The players on the battlefield naturally couldn't hear the anger outside the battlefield. Yang Na, who was in a different dimension, couldn't even hear the shouts of the other people in Chuanjin. Looking at the 9 big men surrounding her, Yang Na was pitiful, desperate, and helpless. Some restrictive plots might even happen. Of course, I'm talking about other books. The old cow's writing didn't have such a vulgar plot. Looking at Mario and the others who were surrounding her, Yang Na frowned and asked indifferently, "Where is this?" Rolling Mario laughed and said, "Don't be afraid. There's no pain in the game." With that said, Rolling Mario waved his hand and said, "Go." Rolling Mario was a cautious person. Although Yang Na was a girl, she was a girl from Chuanjin. Her strength was definitely not weak. Therefore, Rolling Mario had arranged a strategy early on. With an order, Rolling Mario took the lead and threw out a sacred flame, silencing Yang Na. Damn. 9 against 1 and still muting, really shameless. The players outside the arena saw Rolling Mario's move and collapse. This grandson was going to carry on the shameless spirit to the end. Although the archer was a physical attack profession, the skill requirements were the lowest. However, in the case of a few against many, skills could not only be used for output, but also for control. It was absolutely very important. Rolling Mario threw a mute and directly wasted half of Yang Na's strength. She had an absolute advantage, but she still didn't dare to face it head-on. If this wasn't shamelessness, then what was it? After Rolling Mario silenced Yang Na, 2 tower shields were raised, one on the left and one on the right, blocking Yang Na's way. The 2 assassins, under the cover of the mage and archer behind the shield bearer, ran to Yang Na in stealth. Rolling Mario hit at the back and shouted wretchedly, "Backstab, backstab, try to take her down in one set. Don't give her a chance to fight back." Seeing this scene, everyone despised the Red Flame battle team even more. Flanking and attacking. This was not giving a chance to live. If it was by normal means, everyone would definitely think that the Scarlet Flame battle team respected their opponents, but after cheating, they still did this, and the nature suddenly changed. However, the Rolling Mario was the same as Wuji. He was also a guy who would do anything. He did not care what others thought of him. After all, this was a competition. The most important thing was to reduce the number of casualties on his side. As long as he could win, he did not care about his reputation. Under Mario's command, the encirclement rapidly shrank. Yang Na retreated and was soon forced into a corner of the map. By then, the 2 assassins had already rushed to Yang Na's side and were about to stab her. In Yang Na's eyes, the assassin was invisible, but in the eyes of his teammates and the audience, he was a translucent shadow. Just as everyone thought that Yang Na was about to die, Yang Na suddenly took a step forward, and the two assassins' attacks missed. Yang Na turned around and circled behind one of the assassins. She raised her crossbow and pulled the trigger, shooting at the back of the assassin's head. Compared to an assassin, an archer's normal attack wasn't too high. Even if the assassin was a fragile class, it might not be able to instantly kill an archer. However, Yang Na's weapon was an epic grade. In addition, Yang Na was a free mode player and had a vital point bonus. With 3 consecutive arrows, the assassin was shot out of the arena before he could turn around. System notification: you have killed the enemy lifeless G and obtained 1 point. Damn, that girl actually counterattacked. The players in the arena were both excited and surprised when they saw Yang Na's sudden counterattack. They were excited because Yang Na was an expert. They were surprised that there was such a powerful person in the qualifier. Exquisite Dream, who was watching from the stands, was stunned by Yang Na's counterattack. All along, Yang Na's performance in the team had been relatively low-key. Especially with a high-profile guy like Wang Yu as a foil, Yang Na's low-key performance was even more unremarkable. Therefore, Exquisite Dream had always thought that Yang Na's mechanical skills were only at the same level as her, or even slightly weaker. However, the previous attack completely changed Exquisite Dream's opinion. This was because Yang Na's step forward was too calm. It was as if she knew someone would ambush her. In order to do this, players had to start the countdown the instant the assassin entered stealth. They had to calculate the assassin's movement speed to predict the assassin's movements. Players were not AI monsters. They couldn't predict what the assassin would do midway. What surprised Exquisite Dream even more was that Yang Na had retreated a certain distance during this time. She could still multitask while retreating to determine the assassin's movement speed. This girl's skills were clearly not inferior to the others in Chuanjin. Of course, Exquisite Dream had overestimated Yang Na's skills. As a member of an aristocratic family in the Kung Fu circle, although Yang Na was not as dazzling as Wang Yu, she was still quite talented. Even if her killing intent was not as strong as Wang Yu's, she could still sense it within a meter or two. It was not difficult for her to avoid the assassin's attack. "I didn't expect this girl to be so strong," Exquisite Dream said in surprise. Mu Zixin said worriedly, "Aya, there are still so many people. I don't know if little Na can beat them." Exquisite Dream said indifferently, "Don't worry, 1 for 1. It's enough." Faced with Exquisite Dream's bold calculation, Mu Zixin was speechless. F***ck, this girl is not simple. Quick, cover ol by. Just as everyone outside the arena was shocked, the members of the Scarlet Flame battle team had already reacted. At the same time, the mage and archer hurriedly launched long-range attacks at Yang Na. Magic arrows flew from the sky. Yang Na dodged to the side and nimbly hid behind the other assassin, Bai Yutong. Yang Na's body was very petite. Bai Yutong was a man. Even though he was a wretched class like the assassin, he was still much more muscular than Yang Na. Yang Na hid behind Bai Yutong, causing the long-range attacks behind the shield warrior to lose their target. Then, Yang Na gently pushed Bai Yutong, causing him to involuntarily take a step forward. Clang! Clang! Boom! 2 arrows and an icicle smashed into Bai Yutong's head, turning him into a bloody mess. Yang Na pulled out a dagger from her waist, circled around, and slit Bai Yutong's throat. Bai Yutong transformed into a streak of light and disappeared. She killed 2. Seeing Yang Na kill another person, not only Yu Huiqing's players, but even Thorn City's players also clenched their fists. Ordinary players wouldn't necessarily be able to defeat their opponents in a one-on-one, yet Yang Na was able to kill 2 of them in a one-on-one battle. What kind of expert was she? Regardless of whether or not Yang Na could successfully break out of the encirclement, she would definitely become famous. After successfully taking care of the two assassins, Yang Na's tensed expression finally relaxed. Chapter 776. For a fragile class like the archer, an assassin with a high explosive output was definitely the bane of their lives against other professions. The archer could rely on kiting to deal with them, but the assassin would never give the archer a chance to fight back. Even if the assassin did not kill the archer in one hit, the assassin, who was also an agility profession and could use speed and stealth, would never be kite. Now that the two assassins were dead, would the others be far away? Yang Na glanced at the people surrounding her and sped up, rushing to the shield warrior on the right. Seeing this, the shield warrior raised his shield and smashed it. Without the cover of the shield, the fragile professions behind the shield warrior were exposed. Yang Na turned her feet again, nimbly dodging the shield attack, and raised her crossbow to shoot the exposed mage. 3. The archer next to the mage drew his bow and was about to counterattack when Yang Na stepped forward, grabbed the archer's head, and pulled him behind her. At this time, the shield warrior also turned around, raising his shield to block the archer that Yang Na had pulled over. Yang Na pressed the archer against the shield, and with her other hand she stuffed the crossbow into the archer's mouth and pulled the trigger. White light rose. 4. Seeing Yang Na's ferocity, the Red Flame Battle Team's players all collapsed. They all looked at Rolling Mario. Damn, didn't you say that we would be fine as long as we don't provoke the Grandmaster of Combat? Why is this girl so fierce? Mario, who was rolling on the ground, cried out, I'm F** King Desperate too. Common sense was that female players had always been weaker than male players. Even if they had the same attributes in the game, female players would usually be weaker than male players due to psychological and reaction factors. In professional competitions, female competitive players were even rarer. Therefore, many players instinctively thought that female players were synonymous with weakness. Therefore, Rolling Mario lacked a pair of objective eyes for Yang Na, a girl who had always been very low-key in Chuanjin. He thought that she was just a girl, and no matter how strong she was, there would be a limit. Little did he know that Yang Na was also a martial artist. In Chuanjin, Yang Na's ability was definitely ranked first. Apart from Wang Yu, the audience outside the arena saw Yang Na raise her hands and kill 4 people, and they were already speechless. The entire arena of nearly 10,000 people was surprisingly quiet. This, am I seeing things? Is the reversal going to happen? Don't tell me this was rehearsed long ago. After the initial shock, the audience could not help but comment. As the saying goes, life is like a play. It all depends on one's acting skills. There were more actors in the arena than in real life. Players who relied on their acting skills to make a name for themselves were still an endless stream of hype. Yang Na's counterattack was too sudden. The scene before them made them think of the word, acting. I don't know. The Scarlet Flame Battle Squad isn't weak. There's no need to humiliate themselves like this. Look at that girl's chest, a player suddenly shouted. F***, can you not be so wretched while watching the competition? When the surrounding players heard this, they all looked at him with disdain. The player explained, No, look at the guild badge on her chest. Everyone looked at Yang Na's chest in confusion. When they took a closer look, they saw a black and white yin-yang symbol that was faintly discernible as Yang Na moved. Yin-yang fish? F*** me. That's Chuanjin's team. Chuanjin. That was a household name in Yuhuiqing. Even in Thorn City, it was a name that reverberated like thunder. With just a dozen or so people, they were invincible in this generation, suppressing a veteran guild like Blood Alliance to the point where they didn't dare to call themselves the boss. Such a record was unique in the history of the game. After knowing that Yang Na was a member of Chuanjin, the audience's doubts immediately disappeared. Chuanjin's team could fight 1 against 100. 1 against 10 was nothing out of the ordinary. Something that was abnormal for others was too normal for a member of Chuanjin. While they were stunned, Yang Na had shot the other 2 archers of the Scarlet Flame Battle Squad out of the arena. At this time, there were only 2 shield warriors and the Rolling Mario trio left on the field. The 3 of them had short legs and didn't have much attack power. It was only a matter of time before they were ground to death by Yang Na. The Rolling Mario had tears streaming down his face. Originally, this brat had planned to sneak attack the 2 Chuanjin members first and then hide until the end of the match. He never expected that even a girl from Chuanjin would be so cruel. Seeing Yang Na pointing the crossbow at him, the Rolling Mario hid behind the shield and said wretchedly, "Heroine, let's talk this out. We're so familiar with each other, there's no need to be so extreme. Don't be afraid, there's no pain in the game." As she spoke, Yang Na quickly stepped forward, circled behind the shield warrior, and went straight for the Rolling Mario. The Rolling Mario raised his staff and was about to hit Yang Na's head. Poor Rolling Mario. Even if he was a man, he was still an intellectual class. No matter what, Yang Na was a physical attack class. Of course, her strength was much greater than the Rolling Mario. Moreover, they were both long-range classes. Yang Na not only had great strength, but she also knew martial arts. Wasn't waving his sword in front of Yang Na courting death? Yang Na pulled back with her left hand, causing the Rolling Mario to lose his balance. Then, she kicked the Rolling Mario's lower abdomen. The lower abdomen was a man's vital point. Although he didn't feel any pain, the Rolling Mario screamed instinctively and hugged his stomach as he lay on the ground. At the same time, the 2 shield warriors pounced over and were about to use taunt on Yang Na. Yang Na raised her crossbow and shot at them. One stunned and the other repelled, controlling the 2 shield warriors. Then, Yang Na stepped on the Rolling Mario's chest and held the crossbow with both hands against the Rolling Mario's face as she shot wildly. The Rolling Mario had many tricks up his sleeve, but his control was much worse than Wuji's. He didn't even have the chance to cast invincibility before he was shot to death by Yang Na. When the 2 shield warriors saw that the Rolling Mario was gone, they looked at each other, sighed, and left the battlefield. In another plane, Mo Xiaobei was completely dumbfounded when she saw her teammates being killed one after another. She glared fiercely at the Quan Jin team. The killing intent in Mo Xiaobei's eyes surged, and Wang Yu immediately sensed it. Wang Yu pointed at the thistles and shouted, "There seems to be someone over there. I'll go kill him." To place one's pride heard this and leaped over, wanting to snatch the kill. However, before he could take a few steps, he heard a chant behind him. Heavenly lightning, earthen fire. The thistles and thistles were instantly covered by the spell. System notification. The Flaming Red Battle Team has been annihilated. The Motley Crowd Battle Team has obtained the victory. Motherf *Ker Li Mingdu. To place one's pride screamed as the Quan Jin team was teleported to their seats outside the arena. The Flaming Red Battle Team had been teleported out a long time ago. When they saw the Quan Jin team return, they all turned to look at Yang Na. The fear on their faces was obvious. Yang Na, on the other hand, looked indifferent as if nothing had happened. Only Mo Xiaobei was confused. She was throwing a tantrum at her teammates. F***ck, what happened to you guys? How did you get annihilated even though it was 9 against 1? Did she cheat us? Chapter 777. Mario, who was rolling, also persuaded at this time, "Okay, don't quarrel. It's just a defeat. We still have a chance." Although Mo Xiaobei was angry, she still listened to Mario's words. After being dissuaded, she snorted coldly and sat back to wait for the next match. The opponent of the Quan Jin sect in the second round was called the Lingyun Battle Team. The name was very arrogant, but the members of the Quan Jin sect were very low-key. When they saw that their opponents were from the Quan Jin sect, they forfeited the match without even showing their faces. It couldn't be helped. Red Flame Battle Team was quite famous in Thorn City. Even they were wiped out by a random Chuanjin team. There was no need to consider the others. After all, Chuanjin had Wang Yu, a nuclear deterrent. Was there even a need to fight? With 2 wins, Chuanjin successfully advanced to the next match. Just as everyone was about to leave, Yang Na suddenly said, "I received a random mission." After yesterday's match, everyone knew the rules of the random reward for advancing to the next round. They were not too surprised when Yang Na received a random mission. They asked casually, "What mission?" "This mission is a bit strange." Yang Na frowned and shared the mission. Random competition mission, working together. Mission level A. Passing the 3 tests will grant the team the passive skill working together. Those who fail will be cursed by the god of competition and gain the debuff, alienation. Team leader, Qingshu. Clicking confirm will activate the trial dungeon. If you give up, the mission will disappear. Players will not suffer any losses. The reward is a team passive skill. Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw the mission reward. Team passive skills were a very special skill system. They did not take up any skill bar. As long as one was in a team with other players, they would receive status bonuses or passive bonuses. The more people there were, the higher the bonus. Currently, this kind of skill was also sold in the auction house. However, due to the special nature of the skill, it was quite expensive. Although they did not know the attributes of the skill, the words "team passive" were valuable enough. Don't celebrate too early. There will be a penalty for failing the mission. Wang Yu reminded after seeing the description at the back. Team debuff. Just from the literal meaning, one could see what was going on. If it was only a temporary curse, then it would be fine. If it was a permanent curse, then there was no point in being a team. Mingdu smiled. It's just an A-rank mission. Do you think we'll fail? Oldly, you still don't understand video game designers. Wuji shook his head and sighed. After playing the game for so long and coming into contact with so many quests, almost all the expert players understood one thing. The goal of the game designers was to kill the players. These despicable fellows were just like swindlers in real life, setting all sorts of traps for the players. The easier the quest, the higher the risk, especially this quest. Even Yang Na could see that there was something sinister about it. After all, it was just a random quest after advancing to the next round. How could there be such a generous reward? There had to be some sort of trick hidden within. Should we open it or not? Yang Na asked everyone. This quest did not require players to accept it. If players did not accept it, they would not suffer any losses. Everyone from Chuanjin looked at the quest reward. Although they knew that there would definitely be traps in the quest, the bait was so sweet that they were tempted. No matter how shameless the designers were, they had a bottom line. No matter how many tricks there were, as long as they could complete the quest, the reward would definitely be genuine. Seeing that Yang Na had asked, Mingdu was the first to say, "If it's up to me, we have to accept it. How can we not take advantage of this?" "That's right. We'd be idiots if we didn't take advantage of this." Everyone from Chuanjin nodded. Mu Zixian said anxiously, "I think we should pick the safe one." "What if, then wouldn't we?" Mu Zixian rarely spoke about the thoughts of the people from Chuanjin, but if they really failed this quest, it would definitely have a huge impact on the later rounds of the competition. If everyone was just playing around, there was naturally no need to worry. But now that Wang Yu had a quest, the later rounds of the competition would become more and more difficult. If they were cursed for taking advantage of this quest, it would definitely not be worth it. Seeing that Mu Zixian suddenly spoke, everyone was slightly taken aback. Then, they turned to look at Wang Yu. Although it was true that Mu Zixian was the leader of the group, she did not have much of a deterrent force due to her low combat strength. However, this lady's husband was the person with the most deterrent force in the Quanjin sect. He could ignore Mu Zixian, but he had to give Wang Yu face. "What should we do?" Wuji privately messaged Wang Yu. "If you can convince her, I'll agree with your idea," Wang Yu privately replied. Wuji was depressed. "Damn, you're afraid of your wife." Wang Yu stubbornly said, "This is respecting my wife." This. Wuji sent a disdainful emoji to Wang Yu, then cleared his throat and said, Sister Nyo, this is not taking advantage of others. Then what is it? Mu Zixin was stunned. Challenging ourselves, Wuji righteously said, a true warrior has to face all the obstacles in life. If we retreat in front of such a small task, should we retreat when there are more difficult tasks later on? Mu Zixin was speechless. Wuji continued to brainwash her. If you can't even face small obstacles, how can you talk about the heavy responsibility on your shoulders? As the saying goes, we live and die for the sake of our country. Don't be indifferent just because you're small, so. Alright, what you said makes sense. Mu Zixin looked at Wuji with black lines on her forehead, and quickly interrupted. Then, Mu Zixin privately messaged Wang Yu. Don't play with Wuji in the future. This kid can talk about taking advantage of others in such a dignified manner. Don't learn from him again. Haha. Wang Yu laughed and glanced at Wuji. Wuji quickly sent a message and asked, What did your wife say? Wang Yu replied, She said you're very powerful and a talent. Fine, Wang Yu had already learned bad things. Since everyone thought she could accept the task, Yang Na casually clicked accept. Everyone's surroundings changed, and they were transported to a huge temple. Then, a deep and spacious voice sounded in the temple. Warriors, welcome to the gods' trial field. Just as the spacious voice sounded, a huge roulette appeared in front of everyone. Participants, please choose your trial, the deep voice said. Yang Na walked in front of the roulette and turned it. After a few turns, the needle pointed at a red area. Selection complete. First stage, challenge yourself. After the voice said that, everyone's task changed. Players can go on stage and defeat their inner demons to pass the stage. At the same time, the scene in the temple changed to an arena. F***CK. Everyone saw this and looked at Wuji. This kid's flag was really accurate. Players with inner demons, please come on stage and challenge. Chapter 778. Aya, he's using a king bomb right off the bat? Everyone could not help but exclaim when they saw Heart's demon, who looked exactly like Wang Yu. The system really did not play by the rules. The first opponent to go up was the best. Wang Yu smiled as he looked at himself on the stage. He stretched his limbs and jumped onto the stage. On the stage, Wang Yu's Heart's demon appeared honest, but in reality, he was extremely wretched. Before Wang Yu landed on the stage, Heart's demon made his move. With a casual slap, a white light swept toward Wang Yu. Cloud grasp. The audience immediately recognized this skill. This was Wang Yu's exclusive skill. They did not expect that Heart's demon's skill was exactly the same as Wang Yu's. However, the fake Wang Yu took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. He had no morals at all. In this aspect, he was far inferior to Wang Yu. Seeing this, Wang Yu, who was in midair, used Qinggong. He stepped on the air and changed directions to avoid the attack. Wang Yu's Heart's demon had already condensed a qi wave in his other hand. He threw it at Wang Yu. Wang Yu raised his arm and condensed a qi wave shield to block the qi wave. He turned again and threw Heart's cloud grasp at Wang Yu. F***CK, how shameless! Seeing Heart's demon throw his skill without any gaps, everyone cursed. It was common knowledge that whether it was a player or an NPC, there would be a lag before and after using a skill. This concept did not exist for Heart's demon on the stage. He threw his skills one after another without any gap. How shameless! At this time, Yang Na rubbed her chin and said, Speaking of which, the rhythm of his attacks is continuous without any air gaps. This is Old Cow's unique style. Hearing Yang Na's words, everyone was slightly surprised. They suddenly remembered that Wang Yu's battles were also airtight. Of course, Wang Yu relied on his mechanical skills to link his skills together. That was purely his personal ability. At this time, Heart's demon relied on the recoilless cheat. However, from this point, it could be seen that Heart Demon's combat style and skills were similar to players. In the arena, Wang Yu still hadn't landed on the ground. He was even forced out of the arena by Inner Demon's 4 long-range attacks. At this time, Wang Yu no longer had the ability to continue jumping and was completely suspended in the air. Seeing this scene, the Inner Demon on the ground stretched her body and performed lightness skill. She flew up and kicked Wang Yu, who could not dodge in the air. Seeing this, Wang Yu smiled slightly. He stretched out his left hand and used the capturing cloud hand to wrap around the heart demon, pulling it in front of him. At the same time, his right hand condensed a chi wave and pressed it against the heart demon's face, directly pressing the heart demon to the ground from the sky. Heart demon's health points were similar to Wang Yu's. Wang Yu's attack power had always been high. The chi wave hit the heart demon, reducing its health points by nearly half. After Heart Demon fell to the ground, she jumped up expressionlessly and rushed at Wang Yu with a burst fist. Wang Yu calmly drew an arc with his left hand and pulled Heart Demon's fist to the side. Then, he used his right hand to support Heart Demon's chin. Heart Demon's burst fist was interrupted, causing her to lose her balance. Immediately, Wang Yu pressed both palms against Heart Demon's chest and tripped him, causing Heart Demon to fall to the ground. F***ck, Uncle Nyo is so strong. To place one's pride could not help but cheer when he saw Wang Yu easily beat up Heart Demon without using any skills. You can do it too, Wang Yu said with a smile. What kind of expert was Wang Yu? He had already figured out Heart Demon's strength after just 2 rounds of fighting. Heart Demon's attributes and equipment were just a copy of Heart Demon's. The reason why there was no stun when using skills was not because the system deliberately used a cheat. It was because the system could not simulate Wang Yu's fighting skills, so it could only use a cheat to replace it. However, Wang Yu's strength mainly came from his own fighting skills. Even if Heart Demon used a no-stun hack, she would still be abused by Wang Yu. After all, a fake is a fake. What was the saying? Your master will always be your master. While Wang Yu and to place one's pride were talking, Heart Demon had already used Quick Recover. She twisted her body and was about to use Whirlwind Kick. Wang Yu took the opportunity to step forward and get between the Inner Demon's legs. She stretched out her arms and held the Inner Demon's legs in her hands. At the same time, she kicked the Inner Demon's crotch from the bottom up with a thunderbolt. Poof, a protective barrier appeared around Heart Demon's body. That was why Heart Demon was not killed on the spot. However, the invulnerability time of the chi barrier was only 2.5 seconds. After the time was up, Wang Yu brazenly twisted Heart Demon's neck. Challenge successful. Next warrior, please get ready. With a loud voice, Wang Yu was sent out of the arena. A shadow slowly formed on the arena. This time, it was a warrior holding a long sword. Seeing that the shadow had formed, Bao San rubbed his palms and jumped into the arena. Bao San had always been an average expert. Like all top-tier experts, he had many skills, quick reactions, and accurate attacks. These were Bao San's characteristics. Therefore, Bao San's Heart Demon was not like Wang Yu's Heart Demon. It was also average, so it was much easier to deal with. The two of them had average skills and average equipment. It was a competition of skills. As a top player, Bao San was naturally not inferior to the computer AI. After a few rounds, he gradually began to gain the upper hand. Because the warrior's skills were mostly hot-blooded and tough, the two people on the arena had skills and hot-bloodedness. It was truly a visual pleasure. Meow, the most handsome are still the warriors. Famous sword Dao Shui wiped his dagger and said enviously. Does everyone have to go up on the arena? Mu Zixian suddenly asked. Yes. Everyone nodded. Huh? Sister Nyo. However, when they saw the person who asked the question, they were immediately stunned. Oh my god, how could they forget about this? Although Mu Zixian and Wang Yu were husband and wife, their skills were indeed at two extremes of Chuanjin. Mu Zixian was a classic example of someone who only talked but did not practice. Her operating skills were not even comparable to the newest newbies. Heart Demon was a copy of the player's body. However, no matter how bad the AI was, it had a lower limit. Against someone like Mu Zixian, who had no lower limit, it was just a trash. This time, everyone panicked. One had to know that they had to win all 12 battles. Otherwise, the quest would fail. If the quest failed, they would be cursed. Everyone was used to having experts, but they actually forgot to bring a weakling in the party. If it was a normal quest, with Wang Yu's strength, it would definitely not be a problem for him to bring Mu Zixian. However, the current situation was too special. Not to mention Wang Yu, even if there were 10 Wang Yus, they would not be able to help Mu Zixian. The person who designed this quest was indeed so bad that it made people's hair stand on end. Just when everyone was at a loss, Mingdu suddenly rubbed his chin and said, "I think Sister Nyo and Heart Demon can stand in a stance and deal damage." With the same stats, the person who stood in a stance and dealt damage first would have a higher chance of winning. Moreover, standing in a stance and dealing damage was a player's basic requirement. If they could not even do this, then they were really not suitable to play the game. Chapter 779. Hearing Mu Zixian's words, everyone was stunned once again. Mu Zixian's worry was not without reason. Even if it was the most unskilled fight, one had to make the first move to gain the upper hand. These inner demons didn't have any other abilities, but their ability to play dirty tricks was not inferior to the most wretched people of the Chuanjin sect. Take Wang Yu's inner demon for example. Even Wang Yu almost fell for it. How could a trash like Mu Zixian, who didn't even have a combat strength of 5, be a match for the inner demon? While everyone was talking, Bao San finally finished his fight on the stage. He had defeated the inner demon with a slight advantage. At this time, the inner demons in the ring were slowly gathering. A shadow, a staff, a book. It seemed that the player chosen this time was Chun Xiang. The moment Chun Xiang's inner demon appeared, he waved his staff and the book of sealing, summoning 6 demons and a giant python. Chun Xiang was not to be outdone. He also summoned all of his summoned beasts. The two of them did not have much attack power, but they had a lot of minions. In an instant, the arena, which was not very big, was filled to the brim with their minions. Chun Xiang and inner demon were squeezed to the corners at the back. Because the ring was full, Chun Xiang could not move and predict, so he was forced to fight with the inner demon. The two of them had exactly the same attributes, and there was no technical content involved in their attacks. They were evenly matched. However, because Chun Xiang had attacked later, he was at a slight disadvantage. However, when Chun Xiang's HP fell to 30%, he suddenly took out a potion and gulped it down, instantly restoring his HP to full. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Chun Xiang only thought of using a recovery potion because his damage output was low. Classes like Wang Yu and Bao San, who had high damage output, did not have the chance to drink a potion once they started fighting. At this time, Mingdu suddenly smiled and said, "I have an idea." "What idea?" everyone asked Mingdu in confusion. Mingdu laughed and said, "Didn't you notice that inner demon did not use a potion? You mean to drink potions and fight at the same time?" Wuji asked. "Don't you know that there's a limit to the amount of potions you can take?" The recovery potion was one of the most important supplies for players. Not only did the potion have a level limit, but it also had a cooldown. Most importantly, the potion required the user to consume the potion. Once the process was interrupted, not only would the potion vanish, but it would also enter a cooldown state. Moreover, the potion would be rendered useless. Taking potions while fighting monsters was purely a waste of money. The game company's goal was to put an end to such situations. Otherwise, it would be ridiculous for players to PK and HP potions in their mouth. Mingdu smiled wretchedly. "I know. What I mean is, it's not that the inner demon doesn't know how to use potions, but that the inner demon doesn't have a backpack." Oh! When Mingdu said this, everyone touched their chins in unison. From the previous battles, although the inner demon used player skills and equipment, it didn't use player items. Therefore, the inference that it didn't have a backpack should be valid. If I take off my equipment and put it in my backpack before the inner demon condenses, and put it on after the inner demon appears, what do you think will happen? Mingdu asked again. This is interesting. When they heard Mingdu say this, everyone's eyes lit up. Although Mingdu's method was shameless, it sounded quite useful. As expected of Mingdu, even the idea he came up with was cheap. At this time, Wuji ordered, "If that's the case, everyone take off your equipment first. We'll try it in the next battle." Okay. After receiving the order, everyone who hadn't gone up to the stage took off their equipment. Soon, Chun Xiang won the match, and the fourth inner demon began to condense. It was none other than Mingdu. When the inner demon finished condensing, everyone looked again. As expected, Mingdu's inner demon was unarmed and had nothing on him. He only wore a set of underwear, and he looked quite pitiful. Seeing this situation, Mingdu leisurely put on a full set of excellent equipment and went up to the stage. Boom! As soon as Mingdu went up to the stage, the inner demon threw a thunderstorm at Mingdu. Mingdu's magic resistance was very high because of his excellent equipment. The thunderstorm only caused a 3-digit damage figure to float up. For Mingdu, who had more than 5,000 HP, the damage was less than 1/10. Mingdu casually threw a thunderstorm at the inner demon, and the inner demon's HP immediately dropped. Brother, I was wrong. Just when Mingdu wanted to use another fireball to completely destroy the inner demon suddenly knelt in front of Mingdu and raised a white flag. Scram! Mingdu did not even look at it and kicked the inner demon away. At this time, everyone saw the blue light in the inner demon's hand dissipate. They could not help but break out in cold sweat. As expected, the system imitated the combat characteristics of the players. This inner demon's despicable method was exactly the same as Mingdu's. Fortunately, Mingdu knew his limits, or else he would have definitely been ambushed. Of course, with such a big difference in equipment, even if he was ambushed, it would not be a big deal. However, what if Mingdu did not think of taking off his equipment? It was very likely that the inner demon would have turned defeat into victory. Thinking of this, everyone shuddered again. After kicking the inner demon away, Mingdu mercilessly turned the inner demon into a flash of white light. After about half a minute after the inner demon disappeared, the empty voice sighed and said bitterly, "All right, you actually used such a method. I admit defeat for this round." The empty voice's words were filled with anger, as if it had never seen such a shameless person. However, Mingdu's method of skirting the line did not seem to be foul enough. The empty voice was filled with helplessness and indignation. "Please select the next round." The empty voice sounded again, and the surroundings changed from the arena to the round disc in the temple. At the top of the disc, there was an additional green circle around the one, which represented the round number. After receiving the instruction, Yang Na walked to the side of the disc and shook it for the second time. "The second test, observing the words and expressions," said the empty voice after the disc's pointer stopped. The surroundings of the Chuanjin group changed again. This time, the setting was a small house. 12 people were squeezed together, shoulder to shoulder. At the same time, everyone's mission introduction had changed. The second stage of the trial mission, body observation. The haunting heart demon has not been eliminated. In the following period of time, it will once again descend on a random player. The descending heart demon is deceptive and aggressive. Companions will need to help their companions dispel the heart demon. Within 20 minutes, if there are no casualties, the inner demon will automatically dissipate, and the second round will be cleared. Otherwise, the mission will fail and the player will not be able to accept the second round. After reading the mission introduction, everyone fell silent for a moment. Then, they hurriedly distanced themselves from the people around them. Chapter 780. The AI of the NPCs in Rebirth was quite high. Normally, players would differentiate between AI NPCs based on their language. Due to the fact that AI could not lie, other than those with high IQ enough to switch concepts, it was not difficult to differentiate between normal AI NPCs. However, this time, the inner demons were deceptive, which meant that the game officials could verify that they were lying. The most direct way for players to differentiate between them was taken away. What was more infuriating was that these inner demons were also aggressive, but they still had to ensure that at least one player did not die in the end to clear the game. This was equivalent to holding onto a bomb that could explode at any time. You could not let it explode, nor could you let it kill you. The designer's wretchedness was truly unimaginable. The nature of this mission was to test the tacit understanding between the players, but the system had gone too far. Even an S-rank mission would rarely be this perverted, and this was only the second stage. Judging from how perverted this stage was, it was hard to imagine how the designer of the next stage would torture the players to death. Everyone had their backs against the wall, trying their best to distance themselves from the people around them, in case they were the first to be killed or attacked by the inner demons. The countdown began, and the system notified them that the inner demons had descended. A few seconds later, Ling Long Dream suddenly screamed, "Someone touched me? Eee!" Hearing this, everyone followed Ling Long Meng's gaze in unison and turned to look at Gao, who was the closest to her. To place one's pride was startled when he saw everyone glaring at him, and exclaimed, "F***ck me. Don't tell me you guys suspect that I touched you." Wuji sneered. "He even dares to touch old Dream, this kid must be an inner demon. Everyone, hold him down, don't let him attack." Everyone knew that to place one's pride had a skill called End of Generations Kick that could kill instantly. Yin Lao Er hurriedly raised his shield and slammed to place one's pride against the wall. Wuji, I'll F***ck. To place one's pride screamed in agony, and the crowd pressed him to the ground. At this moment, Ling Long Dream's eyes narrowed as she raised her crossbow and aimed it at Yang Na's back. However, before Dream of Exquisite could pull the trigger, Yang Na suddenly turned around and pushed Dream of Exquisite's hand upwards. Dream of Exquisite's arrow shot towards the ceiling. At the same time, Ming Jian, Dao Shui, appeared behind Dream of Exquisite. The hilt of his dagger pierced into the back of Dream of Exquisite's head. Dream of Exquisite was knocked unconscious. Then, Yang Na reached out and disarmed Dream of Exquisite's weapon. Archers could only use daggers and crossbows as weapons. Exquisite Dream was an intelligent archer, and did not have the habit of carrying a dagger. With her crossbow stolen, she immediately became a tiger with its teeth pulled out. At this moment, the people who were pressing to place one's pride turned around, their expressions as though they had expected this. To place one's pride, who had been ravaged, furiously pointed at the crowd and asked, "F***ck, you all know that I'm not an inner demon?" Wuji said, "Nonsense. Would old Meng make a big fuss if he was touched? You useless brat, your IQ needs to be raised." Indeed, Dream of Exquisite's temper was extremely explosive. If she was really touched, there was a 50% chance that she would slap him and a 99% chance that she would kick him in the crotch. Yelling wasn't her style. Of course, nothing was absolute. Everyone chose to let their inner demons expose themselves. F***ck, that's not right. Then who was the one who smashed my head with a stick? To place one's pride continued to glare at Wuji. "I didn't move," Wuji said. To place one's pride looked at Chun Xiang and Mingdu. At this moment, only the three of them were holding stick. Mingdu hurriedly retracted his staff and said, "It's none of my business. Hee, I don't know if you're an inner demon or not." Chun Xiang laughed vulgarly. Everyone was speechless. Only a fool would believe Chun Xiang's words. F***ck. Chun Dog, just you wait. To place one's pride clenched his fist. Just as everyone was talking, Dream of Exquisite, who was possessed by the inner demon, saw that she was completely exposed. She swung her head and slammed it against the wall. F***ck? Daoshua jumped in fright when he saw Dream of Exquisite commit suicide. He wanted to stop her, but it was too late. At this moment, Yang Na dodged and caught up to Dream of Exquisite's wrist. With a reverse grip, she pressed the fake Dream of Exquisite to the ground. F***ck your mother. To place one's pride saw this scene and cursed out loud. This inner demon was indeed a demon. After being exposed, she actually slammed her head against the wall and committed suicide. Could the designers be any more shameless? Reality proved that they dared. Yang Na had just pressed Dream of Exquisite to the ground when Dream of Exquisite suddenly shouted, "Little Snow, what are you doing? Ah, you were just possessed by the inner demon." Seeing that Dream of Exquisite seemed to have returned to normal, Yang Na couldn't help but want to let go. Wuji hurriedly shouted, "Don't let go first. I want to ask her a question." Dream of Exquisite's expression didn't change as she said, "You're so nosy. Hurry up and ask." Wuji smiled faintly and asked, "What's 774 times 512? 396288. Dream of Exquisite answered without hesitation. Wuji heard that and said, "This is still an inner demon. Continue pressing her. This kind of math is really a nightmare. Even a calculator can't calculate it so fast." Dream of Exquisite's face turned sinister. "Good lad, you're really something." After saying that, Dream of Exquisite's body went limp. She seemed to collapse as she loudly cursed, "Mother ****, how dare you possess me?" Everyone stared at Dream of Exquisite's current state skeptically. Then they asked Wuji, "Is it real or fake?" "Who ran away with his sister-in-law?" Wuji asked. "Huang Xiaohe. It's real. Let go of her." Wuji nodded and gestured for Yang Na to let go of Dream of Exquisite. Seeing that Dream of Exquisite had indeed returned to normal, everyone broke out in cold sweat. Looking at the countdown timer, there were still 15 minutes left. "Brother Chun, what are you doing?" Not waiting for everyone to calm down, someone at the back shouted again. This time, their targets seemed to be Chun Xiang and Mingdu. Everyone turned around and saw Chun Xiang and Mingdu holding their staff. One was condensing fire, the other condensing poison mist. It looked like they would start a fight at any moment. "He's an inner demon." Mingdu pointed at Chun Xiang and shouted, "Just now, he wanted to throw a skill into the crowd. Good thing I noticed it in time." Chun Xiang also shouted, unwilling to be outdone, "Don't confuse right and wrong. You were the one who wanted to throw a skill and was stopped by me. How dare you make a false accusation?" Everyone, the inner demon's disguise was too good. At this time, the tone and expression of the two were exactly the same. It was really hard to tell them apart. "Who do you think is the inner demon?" Wuji asked everyone. To place one's pride jumped and said, "Chun Go is definitely the inner demon. Everyone, go and catch him. Don't mess around. Go play somewhere else." Wuji glared at to place one's pride. Damn, they were facing two magic classes. One was an area of effect attack, the other an area of effect crowd control. In such a small area, the two of them were real bombs. Now that the two of them were restraining each other, neither could throw a spell. If everyone attacked Chun Xiang at this time, and if Chun Xiang wasn't the inner demon, Mingdu's spell could instantly kill him. Chapter 781. Okay. Wuji nodded and asked, "What's 145,789 times 114,578? Mingdu shouted, "F***ck. How would I know? Give me one that's less than 10. Chun Xiang looked at everyone and said with a troubled expression, "I can't calculate this." "Is that so?" Wuji touched his nose. "Ask another one, something simpler," Chun Xiang said. "There's no need to ask." Wuji said, "We already know who's fake." "Who?" Chun Xiang was stunned and was about to say something when he suddenly felt someone hit the back of his head. At the same time, northern underworld fish appeared behind Chun Xiang. Seeing the poisonous fog in Chun Xiang's hand disappear, Mingdu let out a long sigh of relief and extinguished the flame in his hand. Bao San walked to Chun Xiang's side and took his weapon. Chun Xiang was still struggling and shouted, "The same answer, why are you so sure that I'm the inner demon?" Ha ha. Everyone laughed. Even Spring Dog can calculate this question even if it's 10 times more difficult. Are you insulting his mental retardation? Hearing everyone's words, Chun Xiang's expression changed and sank helplessly. The inner demon is gone, let's try asking another question, everyone said. Who runs the fastest in the world? Wuji asked. A reporter from some place, it's true, Wuji said. This time, the speed of identifying the inner demon was faster, and it was found in less than 2 minutes. Furthermore, the inner demon didn't possess anyone after it left. From this, everyone came to a conclusion that the inner demon appeared once every 5 minutes, and it would probably appear twice more. It would definitely be more cunning next. We're too passive now, we should think of a countermeasure. Wuji touched his chin and said, "Where should we start?" Everyone naturally knew how to think of a countermeasure, but the inner demon came and went without a trace, so who knew how to deal with it? Chun Xiang said, "Everyone saw it just now, the inner demon's intelligence is very high. Its goal is to make us suffer casualties. If the inner demon really possesses brothers like Mingdu and Old Cow with high damage, we will definitely suffer casualties, and the mission will fail." "That's easy," Wang Yu said with a smile. "Then we'll just put away our weapons, take off our equipment that increases damage, and only wear high defense equipment. That makes sense." Hearing Wang Yu say this, everyone nodded. If there was no damage, there would be no casualties. As long as the heart demon couldn't kill the players in one hit, its identity would be exposed. If that happened, everyone just had to hold it down. Okay, let's do that. With Wuji's command, everyone put away their weapons and put away their weapons, everyone put away their weapons and put away their weapons. As expected, after changing his equipment, it was much easier to deal with the next 2 heart demon invasions. The person said, "You chin chin chin. Chun and chin 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 and chin, chin chin and chin 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 chin." The scene changed back to the temple. A green circle had been drawn around the symbol that represented the second stage on the roulette wheel. The empty voice said with a hint of anticipation, "Well done, warriors. This is the last stage. Please choose your stage." Hearing the empty voice, everyone looked at the remaining stage names on the roulette in unison. 9 deaths, 1 life, 1,000 tribulations. Each and every one of the thrilling stages gave the audience goosebumps. This third stage was definitely going to kill the players. Yang Na was about to roll the roulette when Wang Yu suddenly said, "Don't roll it." "What?" Yang Na asked in confusion. "Don't tell me you want to roll it?" Wang Yu smiled and didn't say anything. He took out a pen from his bag and handed it to Chun Xiang. Then, he whispered a few words. Chun Xiang was shocked and said, "Will I be punished by the heavens if I do this?" Wang Yu said, "It's fine. I just tried it not long ago. Then why don't you do it yourself? You're the professional." Wang Yu smiled. Chun Xiang walked in front of the roulette with a face full of disbelief. He drew a circle around the symbol of the third stage. It had to be said that Chun Xiang was indeed a professional artist. He drew the exact same thing. "Brother Chun, what are you doing?" Seeing Chun Xiang scribble on the roulette, everyone was a little confused. Wuji looked at Wang Yu with a dumbfounded expression. Deceiving everyone was something Wang Yu learned from Wuji. Back then, Wuji only used fake wine to trick Hermit because Wuji knew that Hermit wouldn't do anything to Wang Yu. However, Wuji never expected Wang Yu to be even more ruthless. He actually fooled the system. His guts were too big. "Who knows what I'm doing?" Faced with everyone's doubts, Chun Xiang walked back to the team and threw the pen to Wang Yu. Then, an empty voice said furiously, "You're cheating." Chun Xiang spread his hands helplessly and said, "See, it doesn't work." "Really?" Wang Yu scratched his head and said gloomily, "We even fooled Teacher Hermit 2 days ago." Everyone was speechless. Hermit was an NPC. How could the owner of this voice be compared to Hermit? This voice was very likely to be the system. Now they would be cursed if they failed the mission, but they would be punished by the heavens if they fooled the system. Just when everyone was in despair, the temple suddenly lit up. Then, a skinny NPC elder descended from the sky and landed in front of everyone. Seeing that the NPC's information was a string of question marks, everyone was even more frightened. Even the big boss was lured out? Unexpectedly, this NPC elder was not as angry as everyone imagined. Instead, he stared at everyone with interest and said, "I'm the god of trial, Durit. You guys are very interesting." This voice and the empty voice came from the same person. It seemed like this guy was also an NPC. With that, everyone from Quanzhen heaved a sigh of relief. As long as it was an NPC, everything would be easy. Haha. Seeing that Durit was quite easy to talk to, Wuji laughed and walked over. He took out a bag of money and stuffed it into Durit's hands. "We're still young. Please give us another chance." "There's no chance." Durit took the money and shook his head. Wang Yu said unhappily, "Is there a need for that? We just drew a circle. We didn't curse anyone." Haha. Durit laughed and said, "Now that you guys have passed 3 stages, do you really want to pass another one?" "What?" Hearing Durit's words, everyone was stunned. "Are you joking?" "I'm not a deceptive NPC," Durit said. "The quest's name is United. As the name suggests, it's just a test of your team's cooperation. As for how you pass the stage, it has nothing to do with me." Everyone was speechless again. Wuji was even more depressed. He had wasted the money just now. This game's worldview was really outrageous. "Alright, this is your reward." Durit spread out his hands, and rays of golden light entered everyone's body. System notification. Quest, United, completed. The Motley Crowd Battle Team has obtained the Battle Team passive skill, United, False. United, False team up with other players from the same battle team. 10% chance to recover to full health when your HP drops below 30%. Cooldown time, 1,200 seconds. P.S. This book is signed by the Yuewen Group. You can see the original version on any website under the Yuewen Group. As for duplicated chapters, please check if you are reading the original version or if there is a problem with your software. If there are duplicates, the editor will definitely inform me immediately. Chapter 782. F***CK. This is the team's passive skill? Why is it so trashy? Seeing the new skill in the skill column, everyone's victorious mood was instantly diluted. Generally speaking, the more powerful a skill was, the longer the cooldown time. It was just a random recovery skill, but it had a cooldown time of 1,200 seconds. Who was this F***King scammer? 1,200 seconds was a full 20-minute. A battle between experts would end in a few minutes at most. The super long cooldown of 1,200 seconds could only heal one person. It was truly too weak. Moreover, this lousy skill had a chance to heal. Looking at it from this perspective, it was more than useless. It was practically garbage. One had to know that the team skills that were sold at the auction were at least defensive bonuses. This unity was even worse than the worst skill. After playing with their lives for so long, they came up with such a thing. There was no need to mention the mood of the Quanzhen members. Seeing everyone's expression as if they had eaten a fly, Durit narrowed his eyes and said, "This is a fake skill. The real unity is more than this." Hearing Durit's words, everyone realized that there was indeed a fake behind the skill that they had just obtained. Mingdu was unhappy. "Didn't we clear the stage? Why are you deducting our rewards?" The system was still the same as usual when it wanted to deduct half of the rewards that were already in their hand. Because the effort and the reward are equal, little brother. It's true that you can clear the stage by cheating, so the reward will naturally be based on your effort, Durit said. Didn't you say that how we clear the stage has nothing to do with you? Durit said shamelessly, yes, but how we give out the reward has something to do with me. F***ck. B***tch. Hearing this, everyone gave Durit the middle finger and teleported out of the temple. Wang Yu and the Quan Zhen members had the same temperament. As long as they were happy, they did not care about the gains and losses. Although they only got a rubbish reward from this mission, it was still an unexpected fortune. Besides, there were a total of 3 stages in the trial, and the Quan Zhen group had relied on their cleverness to skip more than half of the process. It was not unreasonable to say that they had cheated. It was already very good that they had not been cursed for failing, so who would bother with such a small matter? After all, it was very normal for the system to cheat them. After returning to Afterglow City, the Quan Zhen group had already completely forgotten about being cheated by the system. At this moment, the members of the Chuanzhen sect were hiding in a room not far from the grocery store. They were gathered around a large office table and discussing the competition. Since Chuanzhen's encampment had been destroyed not long ago, Li Shui and the other lifestyle players had no place to stay, so they rented an office. Now that the encampment's construction was complete, and the office's rental was not up yet, it became Chuanzhen's new encampment. Inside the office, Wang Yu was still as calm as before. She was chatting cheerfully with Chopper 345 beside her. Wuji, Chuanxiang, and the rest of the beasts were trying their best to show off their so-called sense of humor, causing the ladies to burst into laughter. Only Ming Jian, Daoxue, was holding a broken notebook and reporting on the battle. Now that the competition is over, tomorrow will be the qualifiers. The teams participating in the qualifiers aren't the same as the elimination rounds. There are thousands of teams in each main city, but only 20 teams will be able to make it through the qualifiers. On average, there are only 10 teams in each city, which means that only 1 out of 100 teams will be able to make it through the qualifiers. Those who are able to stand out from the crowd are all experienced experts. Moreover, because of the participation of those opportunistic teams from big guilds, the quality of the experts in these teams is also very high. Ming Jian, Daoxue, was reading his script according to the script, but when he realized that everyone was ignoring him, he immediately became angry. "You be asterisk cheese." Daoxue, who was ignored, slammed the table and stood up. Seeing Mingon Daoxue fly into a rage, everyone stopped chatting and turned their gazes over. Daoxue said angrily, "You be asterisk cheese, are you listening to me?" I'm listening. Mingdu turned around and replied. He continued to wave his hands and feet as he asked the girls, "Guess what Armadillo said?" Clang. Clang. Daoxue pulled out 2 daggers and threw them on the table, staring angrily at Mingdu. Mingdu hurriedly turned around and sat down, smiling. "Bro, don't mind these details. F***ck, if you guys do this again, I won't do battle reports anymore," Daoxue said loudly. At this moment, North Siyu raised her hand. "Daoxue, I'm listening, good brother." Daoxue's face was full of tears. "Say it again, I fell asleep halfway through," North Siyu said embarrassedly. Scram. Daoxue tore the notebook in his hand angrily. All right. Daoxue, don't be angry. These be asterisk cheese are like this, they don't behave properly. Seeing that Daoxue was angry, Wuji hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Humph. Daoxue snorted coldly, ignoring Wuji. Sigh. Wuji sighed. Let's have a good meeting. Sister Nyo, who's your next opponent? Mu Zixin looked at the battle schedule and said, 000007 Raptor Battle Team. Raptor Battle Team? Daoxue was slightly stunned when he heard this battle team's name, and couldn't help but repeat it. Daoxue, you know them? Wuji asked Daoxue in a fawning manner. Humph. Daoxue once again turned his head and ignored Wuji. The other members of Chuanjin also started to exclaim, F***CK 000007, this number is amazing. Really? What's so amazing about it? Why can't I feel it? Wang Yu asked, puzzled. Wuji explained, the number is 000007. It proves that this battle team is the 7th registered battle team in our server 7. The battle team numbers in Rebirth were similar to the license plate numbers in real life. In the earlier stages, before there was a large number of registrations, they were arranged according to the time of registration. For example, Chuanjin's guild station number was 000001, because the Chuanjin station was the first guild station in Rebirth. However, as the number of battle teams increased, the game company, in order to make money, picked out many consecutive numbers, lucky numbers, and so on, and put them in the shop to sell. With this mess, the subsequent battle team numbers were completely random, which led to the situation today. From this, it could be seen that a battle team that could get a unit number like the Raptor battle team was not only a veteran battle team, but also a team that had been registered quite early. To be able to pass the team mission test in the early stages of the game, even if such a battle team wasn't the strongest, it wouldn't be too weak either. Is that so? Wang Yu rubbed his chin and mumbled, I wonder how strong this battle team is? Can they be matched with this number? Nonsense, Dao Xue said angrily. Haven't you heard of the Raptor battle team after playing for so long? Chapter 783. Is he famous? Everyone was confused. Famous sword, Dao Xue said. Then you must have heard of War is Peace. F***CK. Hearing the name War is Peace, Wuji couldn't help but be moved. You're talking about that War is Peace? Yes, that War is Peace. So it's this guy. No wonder. Baiming Yuyu said with a serious expression. War was peace. He was also a famous person in the mercenary world. He was known as Master 7 in the circle. He was a person with great connections and ability. He was different from Baiming Yuyu, who relied on the gray industry for income. War is Peace was involved in a wide range of businesses. He could be said to be the strongest in the mercenary world. Everyone called Baiming Yuyu the king of mercenaries because she was very cautious and had never failed before. And this War is Peace. No matter what kind of quest it was, as long as it came to him, he would complete it. Everyone in the game knew how strong he was. So, War is Peace was also called the god of mercenaries. It was said that every mercenary group had to go to him when they were established. Even a mercenary group like Baiming Yuyu had to report to War is Peace to seek protection. If not, they definitely wouldn't be able to survive in the circle. The Raptor battle team's number was 7. It probably wasn't that they only managed to get the number 7, but that they had accepted the challenge to fight for the 7th master. In the world of Rebirth, where there were many big guilds, being able to choose their own battle team's number at will was enough to show how powerful that guy was. Even the big guilds wouldn't dare to offend this underground boss of the mercenary industry. Other people might not know about Raptor, but you don't either, old you? Isn't he your boss? Famous sword Dao Xue asked Baiming Yuyu mockingly. Baiming Yuyu's expression was solemn. My team was just established 2 days ago, and the guild was disbanded. Where would I have the time to visit him? Everyone. Famous sword Dao Xue knew that he had said something wrong. He hurriedly said, this is a blessing in disguise. Following us, you can bully whoever you want. Isn't that much better than being a mercenary? Baiming Yuyu laughed upon hearing this. That's true. From a certain perspective, trash like you are more noble than most people. Wang Yu sighed and said, Xiao Yu, your mouth is so smelly. It's getting more and more real. I've never denied that I'm an inseparable part of the Chuanjin prison. Baiming Yuyu said lightly. Originally, Mingjian Daoxue was still in a fit of anger, but with just a few words from Baiming Yuyu, Mingjian Daoxue had immediately forgiven this bunch of animals. How about it? How confident are you in dealing with our former boss? Mingjian Daoshua asked with a smile. If it was in the past, I wouldn't have much confidence, but now. Bai Mingyu scanned the crowd, her gaze landing on Wang Yu, a mere bird of prey, nothing to fear. I'm very happy that you have such confidence. Mingjian Daoshua patted Bai Mingyu's shoulder and said, however, the rules for tomorrow's competition will be different from today's. If you encounter a powerful expert, you can only rely on yourself. Rules? Everyone was stunned once again. What rules? As the leader, Mu Zixin continued, the rules have changed from a free-for-all battle to a point system like the regular competition. So that's how it is. Hearing Mu Zixin's words, everyone instantly understood. The official competition was divided into 3 rounds: wheel battle, solo challenge, and group battle. They were also known as wheel battle, solo battle, and group battle. Everyone knew about group battle. It was to throw 2 teams into the same arena, and the team that wiped out the opposing team within the allotted time would win. In addition, for every enemy player killed, 1 point would be awarded. By the end of the allotted time, the team with more points would win, and the winning team would receive 10 points. Solo battle was a solo battle. 5 of the 10 players from each team would fight against the opposing team. For every round they won, 2 points would be awarded. In the end, the team with more points would win, and the team with more points would win. The winning team would receive 5 points. While round battle was to randomly choose 5 people from the competing team to fight against the opposing team. If the first person was defeated, the second person could be switched to, until the other 5 people were defeated. Every round would also be awarded 2 points, and the winner of a single battle would also receive 5 points. The points from the 3 rounds would be added up, 20 plus 15 plus 15, for a total of 50 points. The final victor would be decided by point. So, even with the existence of a bug like Wang Yu, if the other members of the team were not strong enough, they might not be able to win. After all, Wang Yu only had the confidence to win if he was present. After understanding the rules of the competition, Bai Mingyu smiled and patted famous Sword Daoshua's shoulder. As long as you don't drag us down, we still have the confidence. Not bad, not bad. Everyone nodded and looked at famous Sword Daoshua with disdain. F***ck. Famous Sword Daoshua wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Although Chuanjin was small, this group of animals all had unique skills. Only famous Sword Daoshua relied on money. In this team full of talents, other than Wuji who had no damage output, famous Sword Daoshua really did not have the confidence to win against any one of them. As for Linglong Dream and Mu Zixin, no matter how useless famous Sword Daoshua was, he would not compete with girls, especially 2 substitute members. The competition was not like normal days. Although the teams that could make it into the qualifiers were not as rich as the teams cultivated by the big guilds, to be able to stand on the stage meant that they were not poor. At the very least, their equipment would not be too far behind. As a result, the most unstable factor in Chuanjin was famous Sword Daoshua. According to the rules of Chuanjin, falling behind meant being laughed at. After the qualifiers, famous Sword Daoshua would very likely become the second laughingstock of Chuanjin, other than Sasuke's underwear. Don't worry Daoshua, we are all good brothers. Even if you drag us down, we won't laugh at you. Mingdu was the first to jump out and comfort him. However, his expression was like a water ghost who had found a scapegoat. Scram, mind your underwear. I want to be a substitute. Famous Sword Daoshua scolded Mingdu gloomily, and moved a bench to sit in a corner. Sigh. Just as everyone was rejoicing in famous Sword Daoshua's misfortune, they suddenly heard a sigh. Everyone looked over and saw Wang Yu holding his cheek with his palm, his elbow on the table, his face full of depression. What's wrong, old cow? Why are you sighing? Everyone asked, puzzled. Sigh. Wang Yu sighed again and imitated Mingdu's tone. We are all good brothers. When the time comes, don't drag me down on the stage. Hearing Wang Yu's words, everyone's expression changed. They consciously moved the bench and lined up beside famous sword Daoxue. Mu Zixin angrily punched Wang Yu's chest and scolded, "You guys are messing around." Chapter 784. After the competition, the location of the competition would not be as random as before. The teams that passed the qualifiers from each region would go to the capital city of that region to participate in the qualifiers. The capital city of Division 7 was the God of War City. It was the last city where the legendary warrior hero Augustus went into seclusion. It was also the city with the most players in Division 7. It was said that the number of players was comparable to the Light Faction's capital, Sacred Light City. This was normal. Warriors had always been an indispensable class since the beginning of the game. Not only were they hot-blooded, but they were also cool. More importantly, in Rebirth, the safest and easiest class to pick up was the warrior. Thus, warriors were currently the most popular class apart from assassins. As the main city where the warrior hero went into seclusion, there were naturally countless people who came to visit. The architectural style of the God of War City was just like its name. It was rough and gave people a majestic feeling. Even though the people from Chuanjin were all from Division 7, it was their first time coming to the God of War City. When they saw the grandeur of the city, they couldn't help but sigh. As expected of the capital city, Yu Huiqing's architectural style was grand enough. Compared to the God of War City, it was just a small town. As the qualifiers began, the players' combat standards began to increase. The audience also increased, and the arena began to be full. After all, the tickets weren't expensive. In real life, everyone would have to pay at least 10 times the price of the ticket. Moreover, this was a live broadcast. Of course, they weren't worried about not having a seat. This was a game, after all. As long as the game company was willing, they could just open up a row of VIP seats directly above them. Given how shameless the game designers were, it wasn't impossible for them to do something like that. Even so, it would be chaotic if there were too many players. It would affect the players' mentality. Therefore, from the start of the qualifiers, the players no longer sat in the audience stands. Instead, they had their own competition resting rooms. Mu Zixin was definitely a qualified leader. She didn't get lost even in such a big city. She quickly led the Chuanjin team to the resting room of the God of War City's public arena. At this time, the 100 teams that won the qualifiers had not yet arrived. They were only sitting in groups of 2s and 3s, bragging to each other. Due to the fact that they were teams that were picked out of 100, and the fact that most of the players who could fight their way to the top were players who had some fame and were often respected as experts, even though most of the players said that they might lose if they met them, the arrogance on their faces was obvious, as if they were the best in the world. The people of the Chuanjin sect liked to watch others make a fuss. They didn't like to get involved, so they found a corner with fewer people and sat down. At this time, Wang Yu pointed to the other teams not far away and said, "What's that behind them?" Everyone looked in the direction Wang Yu was pointing and saw that behind each team was a flag. There were all kinds of words and pictures on the flags. Everyone looked at each other and smiled. Wuji explained to Wang Yu, "That's the team flag." "What's it for?" Wang Yu was puzzled. Wuji curled his lips in disdain and said, "It's a demonstration. Usually, when some guilds encircle an area to level up, they'll plant a flag there. It's like a dog peeing." "I see." Wang Yu nodded and said, "Why haven't I seen it in our Yuhuiqing?" Everyone heard this and looked at Wang Yu. Wang Yu was confused and said, "What does this have to do with me?" Everyone said, "Thanks to you, our Yuhuiqing is the most special city out of all the main cities." In normal main cities, grandmasters of combat, solo players, and solo players were basically the weakest group. They were at the bottom of the food chain. Not to mention the big guilds didn't care about these people at all, Even small groups would take pleasure in robbing these people. And in Yu Huiqing, because of Wang Yu's existence, grandmasters of combat were the most prideful class. Small groups wouldn't dare to do anything to solo players. Even big guilds like Blood Alliance would keep a low profile in their own territory. Everyone was so careful because they were afraid of meeting people like Wang Yu, who ate raw meat. And because of this, Yu Huiqing didn't close its doors at night and didn't leave anything behind on the road. It was the first to step onto the path of socialism from the law of the jungle. For many months it was ranked as the safest city on the forums. Hearing everyone say this, Wang Yu also knew that his reputation wasn't that great. He smiled awkwardly and then asked everyone, "Why don't we make a team flag?" I didn't prepare one," Mu Zixian said in a panic. "You don't need to prepare this. The team leader's authority is to design and make one," Wu Ji said and guided Wang Yu to the option of making a flag. "Yo!" Wang Yu exclaimed while asking, "What should we draw on the flag? How about putting our guild's yin-yang fish emblem on it?" To place one's pride suggested. "It's nothing." Everyone rejected it in unison. Although the yin-yang fish hair originated from China, the shameless South Korea was the first to use it as their national flag. If everyone carried this thing on the streets, the risk of death would definitely increase by a few thousand%. Wu Ji pondered and said, "The team flag is equivalent to the 13th person in our team. Either we don't have it or we have to consider it carefully. Otherwise, we'll embarrass ourselves before we even compete. This isn't our style. The key for a team like ours is to be domineering." 13th person? Domineering? Wang Yu touched his chin and chuckled. Seeing Wang Yu's smile, everyone's hair stood on end. Then, Wang Yu dragged out a flag and stuck it on the ground. Everyone looked at the flag in unison and saw 3 huge words written on the flag: Awesome 13. Pft. Seeing the team flag, everyone spat out a mouthful of blood. Everyone knelt on the ground and cried, "Oh my God, what kind of sin have we committed? Writing arrogance on the flag." Everyone had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant person. Disregarding the virtue of modesty, just based on the ugliness of this flag, everyone had never seen it a second time. Mu Zixian was also not bad-looking. When did Wang Yu's aesthetic standards go astray? How is it? Awesome 13, such a simple and domineering design. Wang Yu boasted. Everyone burst into tears again when they heard that. As long as you're happy, there were less than 10 minutes before the start of the competition, and more people were gathering in the lounge. The Chuanjian team flag was particularly eye-catching in the crowd. Seeing that his design was so popular, Wang Yu proudly boasted to his teammates beside him. Meanwhile, the Chuanjian people turned their faces away and pretended not to know Wang Yu. Just when there were less than 3 minutes left in the competition, there was a loud bang. The lounge door seemed to have been knocked open, and a group of players in black armor walked in aggressively. Chapter 785. Seeing the team flag of the Black Armor Battle Team, all the players in the lounge who were bragging immediately quieted down and hurriedly sat down. That strong man walked up to Wang Yu and sized up the team flag beside Wang Yu. Then, he laughed and said, "Ha ha, awesome? This team flag is not bad." The strong man's voice was like his person. His voice was like rolling thunder. It was very loud and his aura was very strong. He seemed very heroic. Wang Yu looked at the team flag beside the strong man and replied with a smile, "Your bird is not bad too? Bird?" The strong man looked down and then realized that Wang Yu was talking about his team flag. He laughed and said, "This is a bird. I see. It's a big bird." Wang Yu nodded. The strong man was stunned. Then, he laughed and said, "Ha ha, you're interesting. I'm the captain of the Raptor battle team. War is peace. Which battle team are you from?" "Damn, so he's War is peace. He's so King strong," the Chuanjian people said in surprise when they heard that. In the eyes of ordinary people, Wang Yu was already considered a big guy. War is Peace was twice as big as Wang Yu, which showed how big his body was. Wang Yu was about to answer when Baiming Yu suddenly walked over quickly and said, "Seventh brother, long time no see." "Xiao Yu? It's you?" Seeing Baiming Yu, Victory is Peace was very surprised. He asked in surprise, "Didn't I hear that you, War is Peace, originally wanted to ask if Baiming Yu's guild had been disbanded?" However, after looking at Wang Yu, he immediately reacted and said, "This battle team is your new brother?" As expected of the leader of the mercenary world, his emotional intelligence was very high. He knew not to embarrass Baiming Yu in front of others. Baiming Yu said, "What are you talking about? I'm in someone else's battle team now." "What?" As soon as Baiming Yu said this, it wasn't just War is Peace. Even the people behind War is Peace revealed looks of disbelief. As a fellow legend in the mercenary world, War is Peace and his subordinates naturally knew of Baiming Yu's strength. Back then, War is Peace had tried to recruit Baiming Yu more than once, but Baiming Yu had tactfully refused. War was Peace. He knew that Dark North Yu was a proud and ambitious person, so he didn't force her. However, there had been no news of Dark North Yu for a long time, and now she had appeared in someone else's team. Just what kind of god was this team's captain, to be able to make Dark North Yu willingly become his lackey? Did the Gokura Kujodo come looking for trouble with you? War is Peace probed. Hee. Baiming Yu said lightly, "I don't think they have the guts." War is Peace asked solemnly, "What's your team's name?" "What's your team's name?" "A motley crew." The name Team Chuanjin was too shameful. The originally confident Baiming Yu couldn't help but blush at the mention of the team's name. When War is Peace heard this, he said in surprise, "So you guys are a motley crew?" "Yes." Baiming Yu nodded, pointed at Wang Yu and introduced, "This is our captain, Iron Ox." "Iron Ox?" War is Peace exclaimed, "The Iron Ox from Chuanjin." "That's me," Wang Yu said. F***ck. So those idiots are from Chuanjin. It's just like the rumors. Lower your voice. Although those people aren't very smart, they're not to be trifled with. Don't cause trouble. When they heard Wang Yu's words, the players in the lounge instantly went into an uproar. Quanjin sect was a guild that had been in the limelight in Rebirth. Other cities might not be able to sense it, but as players in the 7th server, everyone had teleportation arrays, and they often visited each other. Naturally, they knew each other. Especially Wang Yu. His nickname, Enemy of 10,000, had been spread to every corner of the 7th server by Yu Huiqing's players. Although most players didn't believe this kind of brainless rumor, there's no smoke without fire. To be able to be used as a catchphrase by Yu Huiqing's players, they definitely had some strength. Now that they saw this group of unreasonable and brainless people, everyone sighed in their hearts that their reputation was well-deserved. War is Peace shook Wang Yu's hand and said exaggeratedly, "I've long heard of Brother Iron Ox's name. It's an honor to meet you today." "You flatter me." Wang Yu wiped his sweat. This old man was too enthusiastic. After some small talk, War is Peace brought his brothers to find a place to sit down. Wang Yu continued to admire his team flag. Looking at the sloppy Chuanjin group of men and women, War is Peace sighed and said, "I didn't think we would meet a strong opponent in the first round." The young man carrying the Raptor team's flag said, "Seventh brother, look at this motley group of unruly people. It must be an exaggeration." War is Peace shook his head and said, "Little Fei, you're still too young. Don't look at that group of people who are swaying left and right like a group of beggars. The more they are like this, the scarier they are." "Why?" Little Fei asked doubtfully. "If they can pass the competition with this kind of cynical attitude, how scary would it be if they were serious?" War is Peace said earnestly, "Moreover, the famous people are not just for show. This group of people from Chuanjin did great things in the past." "Really?" Little Fei was skeptical, as if he couldn't connect great things with that group of people from Chuanjian at all. F***ck, if we lose this time, we'll let that old fellow Husky watch the show. War is peace, mumbled and glanced at Wang Yu again. The remaining teams had finally arrived, and the competition was about to begin. The preliminaries were divided into 4 zones, A, B, C, and D. The 4 teams with the highest strength would be eliminated, while the other 24 teams in each zone would fight each other. The team that won in the end would enter the quarter-finals together with the teams that had been eliminated. The zone that Wang Yu's team was in was the zone that corresponded to the lounge, and it was also the first zone to enter. At this time, the 24 teams in the lounge of Zone A were ready to go. As the start of the competition sounded, everyone in the arena and the lounge received a system notification. System notification. The first battle is between the Raptor team from the City of War God in Zone A and the Motley Crowd team from Yu Huiqing in Zone A. First battle, individual competition. Please choose your own team members. After receiving the system notification, the players in the lounge immediately turned their attention to the 2 teams. They couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Good. The first battle is between these 2 strong teams. As the saying goes, when 2 tigers fight, one will definitely get hurt. Whether it was Chuanjian or Raptor, for the other teams, it would increase their chances of winning. The players outside the arena were also excited. Chapter 786. Team Raptor is going first? D**MN. This is going to be interesting. That's right. The Raptor battle team is made up of 12 top-notch experts. I wonder where that motley mob battle team came from. They're really unlucky. It wasn't easy for them to enter the top 100, but their first opponent is the Raptor battle team. Top 100 my ass. Even if a team from the suburbs like Yu Huiqing is in the top 10, they might not even make it into the top 100 here. After the War God City players found out who was going to compete, they couldn't help but start discussing. As locals, they knew the experts of Team Raptor like the back of their hands. Even pro teams wouldn't dare to look down on these guys, let alone a player like Yu Huiqing who came from far away. When the Yu Huiqing players heard this, they immediately became unhappy and said unhappily, "The capital's main city sure has a strong sense of superiority. Even a team can make them so cocky. I wonder which guild this motley crew belongs to. They won't lose too badly, right?" "Don't worry, if there are no surprises, your Yu Huiqing won't lose," a Thorn City player next to Yu Huiqing player said. The Yu Huiqing player laughed bitterly. "Stop messing around, they're up against Team Raptor." Team Raptor was a veteran team in the game. They had always been regarded as experts that weren't inferior to pro players. This motley crew's name sounded like trash. These words were clearly meant to comfort them. Even though Team Afterglow City was being looked down upon and the players from Afterglow City weren't happy, they could still see the reality of the situation. The Thorn City player laughed mysteriously. "Hee hee, you guys don't know, but I've seen the competition. This motley crew has a strong background. Just watch." Strong background? Could it be Team Blood Alliance? The Yu Huiqing player heard this and muttered to himself. At this time, in the resting room, Baiming Yu was also explaining Team Raptor's information. These guys aren't simple at all. Their leader is known as the Bird King, and the 12 birds under him are all extremely powerful. The ones who came for this competition are also the strongest ones. "Oh, how do they compare to you?" Wang Yu asked Baiming Yu. Baiming Yu said, "In the past, we were about the same. Back then, they left me a seat in the giant Leviathan, but I didn't join. Now, I don't know, but I don't think he's any weaker than me." "If that's the case," Wang Yu touched his chin and said, "Should I go first?" Wuji said, "Bullsh**t. How can there be a trump card game? This is only the first duel. Why don't we test the waters first?" After some discussion, the Chuanjian team members for the first match were finally determined. Because clerics weren't suited for battle, warlocks and mages weren't suited for duels, and Yang Na and Wang Yu were too much of a bug, the players were. To place one's pride, Mingjian Daoxue, Bao San, Yin Lao Er, and Bai Mingyu. Everyone was a close combat class, and other than Mingjian Daoxue, none of them were weaker than Bai Mingyu. They could be considered the standard combat strength of Chuanjin. The first player was to place one's pride. Although this kid was strong, he was still young and his tactics weren't mature, so he was placed first. To place one's pride didn't have any objections. This kid liked to show off, and he thought that placing him first was to let him be in the limelight. After finalizing the 5 combatants for the match, the 2 teams were simultaneously summoned to the arena's seating area. Under the gaze of hundreds of thousands of spectators, the 2 team flags fluttered in the wind. Especially Chuanjin's Nyo 13, they really caught everyone's attention. D*MN, this team is so amazing. The team flag is so unique. Haha, Nyo 13, that's really creative. If nothing goes wrong, even if Raptor wins the match, the limelight will probably be stolen by their opponents, haha. Hearing the audience's words, the Chuanjin players covered their faces, wanting to hide their heads in their pants. Only Wang Yu said proudly, "See that? There are still many people with good taste, you bunch of trash." F***CK. The Chuanjin players buried their heads even lower. Next was the map selection. Since Raptor was the home team, the map was chosen by Raptor. Very quickly, the map was chosen. It was actually the arena. Seeing this map, everyone was shocked. The so-called arena was an arena. It was as big as a boxing arena in real life. Not only was it small, but there were no obstacles. It was one of the simplest and most violent maps. Originally, they thought that Raptor would be like rolling Mario and choose a more shameless map. Who knew that they would be so confident that they would choose a map where they couldn't even kite? Of course, Chuanjin wasn't worried because all of Chuanjin's players were melee classes. Comparatively speaking, this map was more advantageous for Chuanjin. After the map selection, the players from both sides were transported into the arena. The Quanjin sect was naturally very arrogant. However, the first person to enter the arena was War is Peace. F***CK. It's Lord 7. Lord 7 is the first to go. Seeing the opposing player, everyone in City of War God was excited. The strong preyed on the weak in the game. Other than those guilds that had large corporations throwing money at them, players always followed the principle of the strong being respected. To be able to reach his current position, he didn't just rely on his EQ and skill. His strength was definitely top-notch as well. As the only person in Chuanjin who had fought against War is Peace, Bai Mingyu only had one word to describe War is Peace: unfathomable. Seeing that War is Peace's first player was War is Peace, Chuanjin was also dumbfounded. F***CK. There's actually someone who's starting off with a bomb. Bai Mingyu was even more confused. What's Brother 7 planning? Is he trying to show us who's boss? To place one's pride and War is Peace were already standing in the arena. War is Peace was slightly startled when he saw the young man in front of him. He then smiled. As expected, heroes come from the young. At your age, you should be in school. To place one's pride was like a newborn calf that wasn't afraid of tigers. He immediately retorted, "You should have retired a long time ago at your age. You're just wasting your time playing the game." This kid. War is Peace smiled. He got into a horse stance, straightened his arms, and hooked his finger at to place one's pride. "I'm not your opponent when it comes to talking. How about we try our hands?" Huh? Bridge player? This old man is interesting. Seeing War is Peace's stance, Wang Yu rubbed his chin in amusement. He also learns martial arts? Hearing Wang Yu say this, everyone was stunned. Chapter 787. War is Peace was also a grandmaster of combat. This guy's martial art was called Hong Fist, a martial art that relied on brute force. In the early days of the game, it was a widely spread martial art. Due to the fact that this martial art was easy to learn but hard to master, the number of true practitioners was far less than the hooligans on the street. In the end, martial arts declined, and the thugs of the underworld passed down this martial art. This could be considered as the underworld's contribution to the world of martial arts. However, how could the underworld learn the essence of Hong Fist? Even if it was passed down, it would only be the tip of the iceberg. War is Peace seemed to have come from the underworld. The basics of the horse stance bridge technique were very solid, but there was a hint of ruthlessness in his move. It didn't seem like the style of a martial artist. In Wang Yu's eyes, although War is Peace's martial art was impressive, it wasn't worthy of his attention. When he saw that War is Peace was provoking him, he arched his legs forward and kicked back, sliding his fist towards War is Peace. To place one's pride wasn't a hothead. Even if he had a powerful move like flash chain kick, to place one's pride wouldn't use it without knowing his opponent's strength. After all, the prerequisites for powerful moves were long. It was fine in PvE, but in PvP, no one would just stand there and let you hit them. It would be embarrassing if the kick missed. To place one's pride's punch was meant to test the waters. To place one's pride's punch came at him. He smiled and didn't dodge. Instead, he took a horse stance and placed his left fist on his waist, while his right fist went straight forward. War is Peace's fist, which was about the size of To Place One's Pride's head, smashed into To Place One's Pride's fist. Boom! The two fists collided. To Place One's Pride was sent flying to the edge of the ring, sprawling on the ground. War is Peace was like a statue, not moving an inch. To Place One's Pride's thin and weak figure sprawled on the ground. War is Peace's tall and sturdy body was like a mayfly trying to shake a tree. In PvP, there were cases of players being forced back, but this was the first time anyone had seen such an oppressive punch. As expected of Lord 7, the little bastard on the other side can't even withstand a single blow. Seeing the scene on the stage, the audience gasped in amazement. Off stage, Wuji rubbed his chin and said, "With such high attack priority, it looks like this old thing has put all his points into strength. No wonder he chose such a venue. He's afraid of getting kite." "Not only that," Wang Yu said, "this guy's fist technique foundation is very solid. Moreover, he has added points to full power. It seems like he has some ability. If you were to face him head-on, even a warrior would be at a disadvantage." Grandmasters of combat did not have explosive attacks, and their physique was not as good as other professions, but they focused on agility and combo attacks. War is Peace was not weak, so their technique was already a notch higher than the average players. Their kung fu was not weak, so their technique was already a notch higher than the average players. Their kung fu, coupled with their full strength, could be said to have both offense and defense. Even a kung fu expert like Wang Yu could not help but think highly of War is Peace when playing grandmasters like this. Sure enough, the older the ginger, the spicier. War is Peace was adding points to full power, but his movement speed was not satisfactory. Therefore, after he sent To Place One's Pride flying, he did not go forward to finish him off. Instead, he stood on the spot and waited for To Place One's Pride to get up again. Damn it! To Place One's Pride crawled back up and cursed in his heart. He jumped up, activated Collapsing Fist, and rushed toward War is Peace. You don't learn from your mistakes. War is Peace saw that To Place One's Pride still chose to face him head-on. He stood in a horse stance and raised his fist again. Haha, you've been tricked. Seeing that War is Peace was already old, To Place One's Pride laughed out loud. He quickly cancelled the skill and landed on the ground. Then, he kicked War is Peace with a side kick. At this moment, War is Peace was still swinging his fist. It was already too late to stop the skill. The side kick had a knock-up effect. If War is Peace was knocked into the air, To Place One's Pride would have the opportunity to use Shadow Chain Kick. With the damage of Shadow Chain Kick, as long as War is Peace did not have a special skill like Chi Barrier, he would definitely be killed. Dragon Kowtow. War is Peace saw that to place one's pride suddenly changed his move. His pupils shrank and he shouted. His extended right elbow pressed down at a strange angle. A phantom dragon head smashed onto To Place One's Pride's leg. To Place One's Pride felt a huge force coming toward him. His skill was forcefully interrupted. To Place One's Pride, War is Peace's left hand grabbed him. To Place One's Pride's right leg was lifted up by his other hand and he ruthlessly smashed it onto the ground. Roar! This is what it means to beat a little kid. To Place One's Pride was crushed once again. The audience cheered again. F***ck me, what's wrong with Chick? He knows that his opponent is using his full strength, but he still goes for it. Everyone from Chuanjin said angrily when they saw this scene. Wang Yu sighed. Sigh, Chick is still young. That old man is waiting for him to exhaust himself. He is suppressing him in all aspects. Whether or not he can win will depend on whether Chick knows how to be flexible. Dragon Kowtow was a skill that interrupted the target's flight or levitation. Its damage was also quite high. To Place One's Pride's health dropped by half. On the other hand, War is Peace's health bar was still full. To Place One's Pride had War is Peace's foot. War is Peace did not have to worry about movement. He raised his leg and kicked. To Place One's Pride understood that his opponent's skill was strong enough. He could not fight him head-on. He had to move around. As a result, Pride rolled on the ground, dodging War is Peace's kick. Then, he swept his leg across War is Peace's foot that landed on the ground. War is Peace's body tilted, and he lost his balance and fell backward. To Place One's Pride laughed. Just as he was about to jump up and use Eagle Stamp to stomp War is Peace's feet, War is Peace flipped in midair and pressed down on To Place One's Pride, whose feet had just left the ground. F***cku. War is Peace's body weighed a few hundred kilograms. To Place One's Pride screamed in pain as War is Peace's body pasted him. Sky dominating fist dance. Victory is Peace landed on the ground and stood up. He stuck his legs on To Place One's Pride and rode on To Place One's Pride. To Place One's Pride used the Monk level 45 skill, Sky Dominating Fist Dance. Clang 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 clang. War is Peace's fists the size of War is Peace's head rained down on To Place One's Pride's head. Even from afar, everyone could feel the tremors on the ground. Fighters didn't have strong defense. To Place One's Pride walked the path of agility. To Place One's Pride was directly smashed out of the arena after War is Peace's set of skills. First round, Raptor Team War is Peace wins. Raptor Team gets 2 points. As the system announced the results, War is Peace was sent back to their side. We won! As expected of the Raptor Team's boss. Seeing that War is Peace won the first round, the City of War God players cheered excitedly. Yu Huiqing's players saw To Place One's Pride lose in such an embarrassing manner. All of them were dejected and listless. To Place One's Pride returned to his seat. The Chuanjin players wanted to scold him to vent their anger, but seeing how pitiful this child was, they gave up on the idea. I'll be able to counterattack that stupid elephant soon, To Place One's Pride said unwillingly. Chapter 788. In the Raptor camp, the members of the Raptor team stood up to celebrate when they saw that War is Peace had returned victorious. As expected of 7th Bro. What bullsh*** T Chuanjin. They couldn't even withstand a single blow. That's right. I thought these guys were as awesome as the rumors said, running around the streets with the flag of being awesome. It turns out that they're just a bunch of trash. 7th brother killed that guy effortlessly. Everyone stomped on Chuanjin while praising War is Peace. However, War is Peace's expression was not as happy as expected. Instead, he frowned and said, "It's not as simple as you think. 7th bro, you think too highly of them. These people have an undeserved reputation. Xiao Fei, who was carrying the flag, smiled helplessly. He was puzzled. Why did War is Peace have to treat those sloppy fellows as experts? War is Peace said in a low voice, "No, even though I killed that kid just now, he's quite skilled. Also, don't forget that he was the first to fight. In a match like this, other than us, you should know what role the first player to fight will play, right?" Only War is Peace, who had personally fought him, would know how strong Bai Ao was. Ignoring everything else, just based on Bai Ao's technique of canceling burst fist and following it up with a side kick, this brat's reaction speed was as high as any of War is Peace's subordinates. If it wasn't for his immature tactics, it would be hard to tell who would have won the battle just now. From another perspective, in a normal match, the order in which players fought was always from the weakest to the strongest. To place one's pride was the pebble that threw the rock to test the waters. If a pebble had such skills, one could only imagine how strong his opponents would be. Hearing War is Peace's words, no one thought much of it. However, they couldn't say anything for the sake of their boss. At this moment, a tall man in black armor who was armed to the teeth and holding a dark gold shield said, "If that's the case, I'll let 7th Bro rest assured in the next match." "Yes. Old Jean, be careful." War is Peace nodded. "Don't worry," the big man said proudly. To place one's pride's abilities weren't considered weak in Chuanjian. At this moment, famous sword Dao Shui, who was in the next match, saw how badly to place one's pride had been oppressed, and felt a sense of pressure. His palm, which was holding the dagger, was sweating a little. Damn it, it was only natural for him to win. If he lost, Ming Ken Daoxue would be looked down upon like to place one's pride. To place one's pride was still a child, so everyone would definitely show some mercy to him. However, Ming Ken Daoxue was already an old man, so naturally, he would be the sorrowful man who would take the bullet. "Daoxue, are you nervous?" Seeing Ming Jian's reaction, everyone could not help but laugh. "Nonsense. What do you think?" Ming Ken Daoxue wiped the sweat off his forehead. Truthfully speaking, Ming Ken Daoxue had experienced all sorts of major situations. Even when facing a pro team like Sword Pointing the Heavens, Ming Ken Daoxue had never been this nervous. After all, at that time, everyone was bound together for good or ill. If he couldn't win, he could still run. With Wang Yu and the others to back him up, even if Ming Ken Daoxue was a fake, as an assassin, his chances of survival were much higher. But now, he was on the stage, facing the enemy head-on. If he ran because he couldn't win, he wouldn't just be losing face for himself. Yu Huiqing's players were all watching. They couldn't possibly let others say that Chuanjian was an expert in internal battles, but an amateur in external battles, even if the spectators of Yu Huiqing hadn't recognized them as Chuanjian's players. Wuji laughed as he patted Ming Ken Daoxue's shoulder, saying, "Don't be nervous. It's fine. Just stay calm. You make it sound so easy. You guys really have high hopes for me. Aren't you afraid that I'll lose?" Ming Ken Daoxue asked guiltily. "Don't say that." Wuji shook his head, saying, "We're all brothers. Don't worry, we don't have the slightest hope for you." Ming Ken Daoxue was speechless. Looking at the people around him who were smiling strangely, he said angrily, "F***ck you all." At that moment, the system's voice rang out again. "The second round of the competition has begun. Both players, please enter the arena." Following the system's notification, Ming Ken Daoxue and the huge man from the Raptor team were sent to the arena at the same time. Then, the competition began. The second one is Jin Dapeng? What is Old Seven trying to do? Seeing the people from the Raptor team, Bai Ming Yu rubbed her chin and mumbled. Hearing that, Wang Yu mocked, "Jin Dapeng, what kind of **T name is that?" Bai Ming Yu explained, "This person is called Golden Jade Mang, nicknamed Jin Dapeng. He's the leader of the Raptor team's 12 Raptors, and also the #1 expert under War is Peace. I didn't expect him to enter the arena in the second round." "Nothing unexpected," Wuji said lightly. Don't you know what Tianji's horse racing is? That war is really a talent. He knows that we're not easy to deal with, so he wants to strike first. I see. With Wuji's reminder, Baiming Yuyu immediately understood. So War is Peace knew that Xuanzhen's side was not easy to deal with, so he wanted to start with a small score and win the single P round first. That way, the gap in the later rounds would be smaller. Wuji shook his head and laughed coldly. Humph, but this kid still underestimated us. Tianji's horse racing also requires similar strength. Although Ming Ken Daoshua's strength was relatively weak, this guy was a very cautious person. Once he entered the arena, he immediately entered stealth mode. Opposite him, Golden Jade Meng saw Ming Ken Daoshua disappear. He looked around, then unhurriedly moved to the edge of the arena, and then stood there motionlessly. Like boss, like little brother. This guy's style was exactly the same as War is Peace. This kind of shameless behavior really didn't live up to the name of their team. Seeing Golden Jade Meng stand at the edge without moving, Ming Ken Daoshua was instantly depressed. Assassins were a backstabbing class. Now that his opponent had hidden his back, this was basically cheating. Wasn't a frontal attack even more ridiculous? Golden Jade Meng's class was a shield warrior, a proper iron tortoise. This was different from War is Peace. War is Peace added points to strength, but due to his special characteristics, his vitality was still relatively weak. As long as he found the right opportunity, there was room for him to counterattack. And Golden Jade Meng's class completely countered Ming Ken Daoshua's. Apart from the back, no matter which side he attacked from, Ming Ken Daoshua wouldn't be able to kill him. On the other hand, if Ming Ken Daoshua attacked from the front, once Golden Jade Meng seized the opportunity, with the Shield Warrior's judgment, Ming Ken Daoshua wouldn't even have a chance to run. Chapter 789. However, Ming Jian Daoshua had clearly underestimated Golden Jade Full's patience. Ming Jian Daoshua was patient, but Golden Jade Full was even more patient. One of them stood at the edge of the stage, while the other hid in the dark. After waiting for nearly 10 minutes, Wang Yu and the others were about to fall asleep. Golden Jade Full and Ming Jian Daoshua still showed no signs of impatience. Those who should be invisible hid, and those who should be in a daze continued to be in a daze. The two of them were like experts dueling in wuxia novels. Whoever attacked first would lose half the battle. Seeing that Ming Jian Daoshua was still not coming out, Golden Jade Full thought to himself, "Damn, this kid is pretty calm. Looks like he's waiting for me to relax and come out. I have to be more vigilant." Ming Jian Daoshua thought to himself, "This bastard can really stand still. I have to wait for him to relax." While the two of them were having a battle of wits, the audience in the stands erupted. It couldn't be helped. It was boring enough to just be in a daze, not to mention sitting on the stage and spending money to watch others in a daze. The audience's resentment was obvious. F***ck, are these two still going to fight? They've been standing there for 10 minutes. That's right. What kind of F***king expert is this? Why are they pretending to be gods? Damn, refund, refund. The players in the stands began to jeer and shout. There were even people who cast magic into the sky to create chaos. Only after the system humanely destroyed a group of players who were jeering did the others calm down due to the pressure. The two of them on the stage still did not move. "Come on, you guys. What's with standing there?" The audience looked at the two of them on the stage and were about to cry. Xuanzhen and War is Peace were also scratching their heads anxiously. Damn, a good match had been forcefully completed by the two of them. If word of this got out, it would really spoil their mood. "You guys watch, I'm going to take a nap." After 20 minutes, seeing that the two of them on the stage were still rooted to the ground and had no intention of moving, Wuji finally couldn't take it anymore and expressed that he had done his best to endure until now. At this time, the two of them on the stage finally couldn't hold it in anymore. Golden Jade Full put his shield on the ground and pretended to let down his guard, wanting to lure Mingjian Daoxue out. From time to time, Mingjian Daoxue would cancel his stealth in an attempt to lure Golden Jadeite over. The two of them flirted with each other, throwing weapons and equipment at each other. It was like a striptease, getting more and more shameless. The audience collapsed at the same time. What were these two bitches trying to do? Didn't he know that the competition was almost over? After Mingjian Shui and Golden Full threw their 11th piece of equipment, they finally realized that they could not seduce each other with just their bodies. So, they began to tease each other verbally. "Do you dare to come over? If you don't go stealthily, I'll go over. Coward! Idiot!" The two of them pointed their middle fingers at each other and taunted each other. After a few minutes, there were finally 10 minutes left on the countdown timer. The audience on the stage was already on the verge of going crazy. This was supposed to be a one-on-one match that could have ended in 1 or 2 minutes, but the two bastards had dragged it out for half an hour. It was one thing for famous Sword Daoxue to be affected, but Golden Jade Full Hall, who was an expert who had been famous for a long time, also had his intelligence pulled down. Xiao Fei wanted to cry but had no tears. He asked, "War is peace, old Jean, what's going on? Why isn't he moving?" That Jean Dapeng definitely isn't afraid of Daoxue stabbing him to death. He's afraid that Daoxue will run after stabbing him, so he doesn't dare to move. At the same time, Wang Yu said to the sleepy musician, "Based on the competition rules, when the match ended and neither player died, the victor would be determined based on the percentage of health lost. Although famous Sword Daoxue couldn't beat Golden Jade Full Hall, as an agility-type class, he could stab and run. Golden Jade Full Hall definitely wouldn't be able to catch up to him. Then why isn't Daoxue stabbing him?" Mu Zixian asked curiously. Right now Daoxue probably hasn't realized this. Also, if Jean Dapeng doesn't move, Daoxue won't have a chance to attack. Wang Yu said. Another 5 minutes passed, and the two on the stage still hadn't moved. Golden Jade Full Hall couldn't help but say, "Trash, if you don't come over and fight, the match will be over. So be it. At most, we'll call it a draw." Hearing this, famous Sword Daoxue glanced at the countdown timer above his head and said shamelessly. Originally, famous Sword Daoxue knew that he wasn't Golden Jade Full Hall's match. Being able to get a draw was definitely a profitable business for famous Sword Daoxue. "As long as you hit me once within the stipulated time, you might win," Golden Jade Full Hall teased. Hearing Golden Jade Full Hall's words, famous Sword Daoxue was slightly startled. Suddenly, he realized that if he wanted to win, he didn't necessarily need to kill his opponent, right? Thinking up to this point, famous Sword Daoxue pulled out a gun and fired at Golden Jade Full Hall. Golden Jade Full Hall chuckled and raised his shield. Famous Sword Daoxue's bullet struck the shield, but the shield didn't even shake. Famous Sword Daoxue frowned and thought to himself. Shield bearers weren't afraid of long-range attacks. They had to use magic tools. Hence, famous Sword Daoxue started rummaging through his bag. At this moment, famous Sword Daoxue found a paper bag. Immediately, a wretched smile appeared on famous Sword Daoxue's face. Then, his figure flashed and he used stealth. Seeing famous Sword Daoxue suddenly enter stealth, Golden Jade Full Hall's heart tightened. He hurriedly leaned against the edge of the stage and used the giant shield to protect his body. His expression turned serious. "Over here." At this moment, Golden Jade Full Hall suddenly heard a shout beside him. Immediately after, famous Sword Daoxue appeared not far to his left. Seeing this, Golden Jade Full Hall stretched out his left hand and turned around to grab famous Sword Daoxue. Famous Sword Daoxue casually waved his hand, and a white mist enveloped Golden Jade Full Hall. Golden Jade Full Hall lost sight of famous Sword Daoxue. Famous Sword, Snow Swift, quickly rushed in front of Golden Jade Full Hall and stabbed him in the ribs with his blade. 2214. A blood-red damage floated up. This attack had taken away less than 1/10 of Golden Jade Full Hall's HP. At the end of the day, Golden Jade Full Hall was an expert. The instant famous Sword Daoshue stabbed him, he closed his eyes and detected famous Sword Daoshue's target. At the same time, he activated Taunt. As if famous Sword Daoshue had long since known that Golden Jade Full Hall would do such a thing, he activated Vanish at the same time. The Vanish skill had a duration of 3 seconds of invincibility. During this duration, Golden Jade Full Hall's taunt had no effect. Famous Sword Daoshue then ran to the other side of the stage. By the time Golden Jade Full Hall reacted, famous Sword Daoshue's stealth skill's cooldown was over. His figure flashed, and he disappeared from the stage once more. Crap! Golden Jade Full Hall had originally thought that he could win as long as he lured famous Sword Daoshue over. However, who would have thought that famous Sword Daoshue would be so cunning? With a furious shout, Golden Jade Full Hall started running around the stage on a rampage, hoping to knock out the invisible famed Sword Daoshue. Chapter 790. Hearing the system announce famous Sword Daoshue's victory, the audience couldn't help but boo. Damn, this was called a battle? The two of them stood there in a daze for a long time. Then, they took off their clothes, spat on each other, and even resorted to dirty tricks like lime powder. However, after 40 minutes, the two of them only managed to stab each other once. What the hell was this? Everyone had played games for half their lives, but they had never seen such a boring duel. When the players of Afterglow City heard the victor's name, they also knew the true identity of the so-called motley crew. However, Mingjian Daoshue's victory was truly disgusting. This made the players of Afterglow City unable to feel excited. In fact, they could not help but think that the people from the Quanzhen sect really didn't care about time and place when they wanted to be despicable. Mingjian Daoshue was still fine. That brat was not a match for Gold Full Hall, and being able to draw was already his highest goal. Now that he had won, it was naturally beyond his expectations. No one cared how he had won. How is it? Amazing, right? Returning to his own side, famous Sword Daoshue said proudly. Amazing, amazing! Daoshue is really smart. I knew you would win. The Chuanzhen players gave him a thumbs up and sighed in admiration. These people were all despicable. Famous Sword Daoshue had won so disgracefully. In the eyes of Chuanzhen, he had become the synonym of wit. Golden Full Hall's side was more tragic. He wasn't weaker than his opponent, but he had been tricked by his opponent. Golden Full Hall, who had lost, felt extremely sullen. F***ck, don't stop me. I'm going to kill that kid. Golden Full Hall's face was red. He wanted to go to Chuanzhen to fight famous Sword Daoshue, but he was held back by his teammates. War is peace said, that's enough, old gold. A tactical victory is still a victory. This is just a duel. There are many more tricks. If you can't afford to lose, won't you jump off a building? I feel so bad. Golden Full Hall lowered his head, feeling extremely wronged. Gold, don't feel bad. Look at me next. At that moment, a warrior with a crew cut patted Golden Full Hall's shoulder. The flathead warrior was called Silver Rap. He was the second strongest player in the Raptor team. People called him Silver Falcon. He was a warrior, and because he was a damage dealer, he wasn't any weaker than Golden Jade Full Hall. Gold Jade Mansions turned around and looked at Silver wrapped up. Old Silver, you can't lose. Got it. Silver-clad man nodded lightly. At the same time, the system announced the start of the third round. Bao San and Silver Rap were teleported to the arena. Since the two of them were warriors, they were quite handsome. Coupled with their glowing top-grade equipment, the two of them appeared extraordinarily valiant. Compared to the previous match's wretched duo, the two of them were much more eye-catching. Don't tell me we're going to stand there for another 40 minutes. The audience on the stage was a little scared. If this happens again, I'll go offline and file a complaint. Damn it. I support you. Push. As if they could hear the anger of the audience, the two on the stage didn't waste any time. As soon as the countdown started, they immediately got into battle stances. Although Silver Rap and Bao San were both weapon warriors, this kid's style was completely different from Bao San's. Bao San had learned kendo, so he was more technical. He was an agility warrior, and his movements were more agile. Silver Rap was different. He was the same as Golden Jade Full Hall, belonging to the classic Raptor team style. He walked the path of violence. Although he wasn't as agile as Bao San, his moves were extremely fierce. As soon as the match started, Silver Rap made the first move. He raised his hand and used charge, lowering his head and charging at Bao San. He really is an expert. Seeing Silver Rap's starting skill, Bao San secretly praised him. Warriors could learn Collapsing Mountain after level 30. Collapsing Mountain was a movement skill. Not only did it have high priority, but it also had a hard crowd control effect. It was usually used by warriors as a starting skill. However, real warrior experts, such as Bao San, never used this move as a starting skill. This was because Collapsing Mountain had a short period of time when it descended from the sky. Although this period of time was fleeting, if he encountered a real expert, he would easily be caught off guard and knocked into the air. Although warriors had good defense, the weakness of strength classes was that it was difficult to quick recover. Once knocked into the air by an expert, they were basically meat on the chopping block. Therefore, when one's skill reached a certain level, the use of Collapsing Mountain was limited to movement and pursuit. Very few people would use Collapsing Mountain as a starting gesture. In fact, very few people would even use this skill to attack a standing enemy, although charge was a beginner skill, and the knockback wasn't considered a very good crowd control effect. The skill's priority wasn't low. Moreover, it was a solid skill. More importantly, during the process of using this skill, as long as one paid attention to canceling the skill, one could use any other skill. Because of this, warrior players who used charge as a starting skill in the game, even if they weren't experts, were still steady characters. The specialty of a warrior was stability. To be able to display this specialty was already very outstanding. Seeing Silver Rap rush over, Bao San lightly jumped back. At the same time, he swung his sword with one hand, and a sword light slashed towards Silver Rap. Backward slash? Seeing this, Silver Rap was slightly surprised. He hurriedly cancelled the skill and dodged Bao San's slash. Backward slash? Motley Mob, that warrior has some skill. The audience couldn't help but exclaim when they saw Bao San use this skill. Slash was a basic skill of a warrior. This wasn't something to be surprised about. However, when two warriors slashed at each other, they would first use slash and then jump back the moment the skill was released. This way, they would be able to attack their opponent while dodging their opponent's attack at the same time. It seems simple, but it was actually quite difficult to execute. Players who didn't have enough reaction time would have a hard time grasping that timing. Therefore, it was known as a beginner's trick for experts. Bao San's backward slash was executed smoothly. It didn't seem deliberate at all. It was completely effortless. It truly surprised the audience and the other members of the Raptor team. No wonder he could fight his way into the top 100. He really did have some skill. Silver Rap's strength wasn't bad either. After canceling the skill and dodging Bao San's slash, Silver Rap didn't hesitate at all. Before Bao San landed, he gripped his greatsword with both hands and twisted his body. He activated Whirlwind Slash and turned towards Bao San in the air. Because Bao San had jumped, he was currently floating in the air. He couldn't move freely. Just as this Whirlwind Slash was about to hit him, Bao San, who was in the air, stretched out his hand and stabbed his longsword into Silver Rap's forehead. Assassination! A beginner warrior skill didn't do much damage, but it had a very disgusting effect, which was to interrupt skills, Silver Rap's whirlwind slash came to an abrupt stop. Bao San landed on the ground and took a step forward. The long sword in his hand drew an arc. Chapter 791. Soul-Sucking Hand. At this moment, Silver Rap roared. His left hand suddenly expanded, and a huge black hand shadow tore through the sword draw's saber light, grabbing Bao San's throat. Bao San was like a little chick, caught in Silver Rap's hand. Break! Silver Rap roared again. The black shadow exploded, and Bao 3 was thrown out. Then, the two-handed greatsword in Silver Rap's hand shone with a dazzling red light. Silver Rap leaped and smashed into Bao 3, who was in the air. Collapsing Mountain. Oh no, this is Collapsing Earth slash. Seeing Silver Rap's skill, everyone couldn't help but exclaim. Collapsing Mountain, Earth-Shattering Slash, was a level 45 warrior skill. Although it looked similar to Collapsing Mountain dealt higher damage, had higher priority, and had a wider AoE. Moreover, after sending the target flying, the skill dealt continuous magic damage. It was a very overbearing skill. The effect of Soul-Sucking Hand had yet to disappear, and Silver Rap's Collapsing Earth slash had already smashed into Bao 3's body. Bao 3 was smashed from the sky to the ground, and then sent flying. His health bar dropped to 20% and it was still dropping. You've lost. Silver Rap coldly snorted and used the skill Assassinate, stabbing at Bao 3. Assassinate had a stun effect, so he used Assassinate in the air, and then Whirlwind Slash. This was a very shameless combo skill for warriors. To be able to use this skill against Bao 3, it seemed that Silver Rap no longer had any contempt for Bao 3. Clang. However, at this moment there was a clear sound. Bao 3 wasn't stunned by Assassinate as Silver Rap had expected, but instead fell to the ground. He blocked it. Silver Rap was stunned, and suddenly smashed down with his two swords, using Heavy Strike. Bao 3 narrowed his eyes and rolled forward to Silver Rap's feet, leaving the range of Silver Rap's Heavy Strike. Seeing this, Silver Rap hurriedly cancelled the skill and jumped back. Bao San had the super movement skill, Triple Slash, so he had never been afraid of anyone in a roaming battle. His figure flashed, following Silver Outfit like a shadow. He slashed at Silver Outfit's waist. Silver Outfit didn't retreat but instead advanced, using Colliding Charge to ram into Bao San. Bao San once again flashed to Silver Outfit's back, stabbing him a second time. Silver, who had been struck twice in a row, finally panicked. He jumped up and wanted to use Collapsing Mountain to pull away from Bao 3. But just as Silver's suit was about to hit the ground, Bao San appeared again. This time, he appeared under Silver's suit. Bao San held his sword with both hands and used an upward slash. Pooh! Bao San's sword struck Silver-Wrapped Man's chin, and Silver-Wrapped Man was immediately lifted into the air. Breaking Army Rising Dragon Slash! Bao San's eyes narrowed, and the long sword in his hand burst forth with light. At the same time, he transformed into a fire dragon, shuttling back and forth. Sword Chi slashed at Silver Rap's body, and Silver Rap didn't even have the chance to land. He took Bao San's set of big moves head-on and was directly turned into ashes. Currently, Bao San's HP was less than 10%. F***CK. Fierce. He can even counterattack like this? Seeing Bao San's counterattack, the audience was stunned for a full 3 seconds. Then, they exploded into a thunderous roar. The skills of a warrior were cool to begin with. Now that the two of them were exchanging blows with experts, the technique and visual quality of the battle were incomparable to that of an ordinary battle. Moreover, everyone had just experienced a boring battle. This exchange between Bao San and Silver Wrapped was truly satisfying for everyone. At this time, not only the players from Yuhuiqing, but even the players from City of War God couldn't help but cheer for Bao San. In the two battles just now, one of Chuanjin was instantly killed with full HP, and the other shamelessly played dirty. So, everyone thought that Chuanjin was just a team that had good luck. Bao San's appearance completely changed everyone's view of him. Not to mention the two's use of warrior skills and judgment of timing, just the counterattack with only a low HP was enough to prove Bao San's real ability. Motherf asterisk Kerr, this is what you call a real battle. What the hell was that in the last battle? That's right. They're both players from two different teams, but the difference in their character is too big. While everyone was amazed at how exciting this battle was, they did not forget to look down on famous sword Dao Shui from the last battle. Especially the flag bearer of the Raptor team, Xiao Fei. At this time, he was dumbfounded. There's actually such an expert in that group? This should be their #1 expert, right? I'm not sure. War is peace said. But I don't think this is their true strength. After all, the legendary Iron Ox hasn't appeared yet. Stop joking. That warrior is already so strong. Is this not their true strength? If they really had this kind of ability, would they even need to participate in the qualifiers? That Iron Ox is at most on the same level as Bao San. Xiao Fei pouted. Sigh. War is peace side. No matter what level they are, even gold and silver have lost. If they fight on this map, the later battles will be a little difficult. In the 4th round, the Raptor team's assassin, Young Deer bumping against Yin Lao Air. Yin Lao Air had the divine weapon in his hand. Young Deer bumping against famous sword Dao Shui had wanted to hide like a turtle and launch a sneak attack, but Yin Lao Air took out a bag of lime powder and revealed his true form. Then, he won the battle after a round of abuse. In the 5th round, North Sea Fish has Fish bumping against the Raptor team's assassin, Sky burrowing through the ground, who was also the flag bearer, Xiao Fei. Once on stage, North Sea Fish has fly through a bag of lime powder without a word, and Sky burrowing through the ground was revealed. An assassin without stealth was even weaker than a grandmaster of combat. Moreover, the two of them were old acquaintances. Sky burrowing through the ground knew of North Sea Fish has fly through. Seeing that he was exposed, he threw the white flag and surrendered. It couldn't be helped. The arena was too small. A bag of lime powder could be thrown across a quarter of the arena. If it was a bigger map, Chuanjin probably wouldn't be able to do anything even if he carried the flower. Lime powder again. Chuanjin used lime powder several times in a row, and immediately attracted the attention of the audience. They were all wondering how this thing could have such a miraculous effect. Seeing that everyone was so interested, Mu Zixian introduced, "This is developing powder, also known as lime powder. It's a specialty of Chuanjin. Not only can it blind, but it can also be used for anti-stealth. Male players can use it for combat, and female players can use it for self-defense. It's really a household item." She didn't forget to add that it would be sold exclusively by Yu Huiqing's cow sister-in-law's general store. She was such a good girl. She didn't forget to advertise. In the first duel, Chuanjin won the match with a 4-1 win and 13 points. Next was the wheel race. The wheel race was randomly selected by the system. This was less controllable. If the first player was Wang Yu, he could easily take on 10 players. But if the first player was a support class like Wu Ji, it was basically equivalent to giving away points. Chapter 792. Motley Crowd, Wu Ji Mingdu, Chun Xiang, Mingjian Daoxue to place one's pride. Raptor Team. Full firepower, soar, wind and clouds, rain and dew, invincible iron fist. TSK. Look at their names, so proper. Wang Yu couldn't help but exclaim when he saw the names of the Raptor Team on the screen. Putting aside the strength of the Raptor Team, the names of the players were all very meticulous. Gold, silver, copper, iron, wind, fire, thunder, and so on. On Chuanjin's side, Wuji was a bit Chunibyu, Mingdu was confused. Chun Xiang with the word Xiang in his name, one could tell he was a person. The others didn't care about Wang Yu's unique way of looking at things, instead rubbing their chins and frowning. At this time, the players for both sides had been confirmed. Chuanzhen's side had a cleric, magician, warlock, assassin, and fighter. On the other side, the Raptor team had a sorcerer, assassin, archer, cleric, and fighter. Obviously, the random selection of players was very disadvantageous to Chuanzhen. Wuji was a non-combat class. He was more than enough to bully normal players, but against experts it was a bit difficult. Mingjian Daoshue's strength couldn't keep up in this level of competition. Although Mingdu, Chun Xiang, and the others had a chance of winning, the choice of the map wasn't in Chuanzhen's hands. This way, the map was biased towards the Raptor team. Especially since the Raptor team's third player was an archer, the class with the longest range. If they chose a map that was advantageous to them, they could use tactics to win. Our chances of winning this match aren't high, Chun Xiang said, smacking his lips. Wuji said calmly, that's to be expected. Everyone, do your best. We still have a guarantee for the next match. It doesn't matter even if we lose all 15 points in this match. Don't feel too much pressure. Wuji, your thinking is very dangerous. To place one's pride, and Mingjian Daoshue curled their lip. Wuji said, what else can I do? If I don't say so, am I supposed to give you trash a military order? That's right. Everyone, don't feel too pressured. Do your best, do your best. Once they heard the words military pledge, the two of them quickly changed their tune. At the same time, War is Peace was also lecturing his subordinates. We've already lost the last match. If we lose this one, we won't be able to recover. Everyone, please give it your all. Yes. Got it, the Raptor players shouted in unison. These fellows had tasted defeat for the first time, and they had lost in a rather sullen manner. At this moment, they were all in a fit of rage, and their fighting spirits were high. I'm worried about you guys, War is Peace said worriedly. Hearing what their boss said, the players of the Raptor battle team were all confused. Why were they still worried when they were so confident? War is Peace said, remember, our goal is to win the competition, not to kill the enemy. Everyone, don't be so bloodthirsty as to fight the enemy head-on. Otherwise, we'll still lose this round. How can we win if we don't kill our opponent? Everyone was baffled. Simple. War is Peace laughed. Remember how old Jean lost? Let's do this and this. Wow, 7th bro, you're so shameless. After War is Peace said his idea, everyone looked at him with disdain. War is Peace said, what do you know? This is called a strategy. Remember it, no one wants to show off, got it? Got it. Although everyone looked down on War is Peace's strategy, they were still very impressed in their hearts. In the end, War is Peace patted Windswept Cloud's shoulder. Little Wind, you're the main force this time. Don't drop the ball, got it? Yes, I got it. Windswept Cloud nodded with force. The 5-minute break ended quickly. The players of the Raptor battle team went all out and started choosing their map. Following War is Peace's strategy, they went all out and chose dense forest terrain. Seeing this map, Wuji's heart skipped a beat. As expected, the Raptor battle team was not easy to deal with. Dense forest terrain, as the name suggested, was a forest terrain. This type of map had high ambushes and was suitable for guerrilla warfare. It was very advantageous for assassins and archers. Among the 10 people on both sides, only Ming Jian Daoshue was an assassin on Chuanzhen's side. Moreover, Ming Jian Daoshue's strength was relatively average. However, the other side not only had assassins but also archers. It was obvious that the players on Chuanzhen's side were living targets. If the archers on the other side started kiting, the Chuanzhen players, who did not even have many movement skills, would be helpless. After all out chose their map, the players on both sides were transported to the battlefield. For the sake of fairness, during the wheel battle, other than the 2 people fighting, the other players who were chosen would be transported to the outer battlefield as substitutes. The first to go up was Wuji and All Out. Just like the individual challenge, the wheel battle also lasted 40 minutes. If no one died after the time was up, the winner would be determined by the percentage of HP lost in a single round. Although the dense forest terrain was not small, the teleportation points of both sides were fixed. They were less than 20 meters apart and could see each other. Otherwise, with such a large map, they would not be able to do anything but search for people in the 40-minute. All Out was a standard ice mage expert. The specialty of ice mages was their continuous damage output and control. In War as Peace, combat classes like assassins and mages did not fight their enemies head-on. As for Wuji, All Out was not cowardly to the point of not daring to face a cleric head-on. The moment the timer started, All Out charged at Wuji. As he ran, he threw an ice spear at Wuji. Crap, All Out can actually cast while moving. In the spectator stands, the battle between the two could be clearly seen. When they saw All Out shooting out ice spears while moving, they could not help but cry out in surprise. It was common knowledge that when a mage was casting, they would be interrupted if they moved. All Out was neither a fast chanting speed wind spell nor a fast casting speed thunder spell. Casting while moving completely defied common sense. When Wuji saw this scene, he could not help but be startled for a moment. An expert was an expert, he could get all kinds of strange skills. Since he could cast while moving, All Out was naturally a kiting style. His attribute points were added to agility. Although the damage of a single spell was not very strong, once he was stuck, it would be difficult to break free. In the blink of an eye, All Out rushed not far away from Wuji. With a wave of his hand, an ice spear was thrown at Wuji. Wuji turned around and hid behind a tree. Crack! All Out's ice spear hit the tree and the trunk instantly froze. Without waiting for Wuji to regain his composure, he ran a few steps to the side, found his target and threw an ice spear at him. Wuji dodged again. Crack! The second ice spear hit the ground and a layer of frost formed on the ground. Chapter 793. As the first offensive skill of a priest, Holy Light was known for its low attack power. Because of the light effect of holy magic, Holy Light was especially conspicuous in the dark forest. It couldn't be used for a sneak attack. Seeing Wuji throw Holy Light, Full Fire raised his staff and released a fireball. The huge fireball immediately engulfed the Holy Light. At this moment, Wuji suddenly jumped out from behind a tree and locked onto Full Fire, releasing Holy Flame. Holy Flame was a directional skill. It couldn't be dodged. Full Fire was immediately muted. Mages were the class that relied the most on skills. A muted mage was a target that couldn't fight back. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, Full Fire turned around and ran into the depths of the forest. As expected of a mage with agility, he ran like a rabbit. In the blink of an eye, he had left Wuji behind. Just as Firepower was about to heave a sigh of relief, his eyes suddenly lit up. Firepower hurriedly raised his head, only to see Wuji hovering directly above him. Wuji extended his hand, grabbed a bolt of lightning, and threw it down towards him. Light of Punishment, a priest's only damage output skill, could deal powerful single-target damage to the opponent. Of course, this was only the skill's introduction. For damage output classes, Light of Punishment's damage was pitifully low. Full Fire couldn't dodge in time and was hit by Wuji's Light of Punishment. His HP dropped by 1/5. A mage that was a fragile class only took 1/5 of their HP. The damage was so low that it made people's hair stand on end. At the same time, Full Fire's mute was activated. Full Fire looked at his HP and smiled disdainfully. He waved his staff and a blizzard appeared above Wuji's head. In the blink of an eye, Wuji chanted, and a huge cross transformed into a holy light that protected Wuji. Wuji floated down from the sky unscathed. At this time, Full Fire's next spell was ready. As soon as Wuji landed, Full Fire tapped his staff on the ground. The ground turned into ice and Wuji was slowed. With a hearty laugh, he cast the level 45 Ice Magician's ultimate skill, Polar Ice Double Dragon Burst. 2 ice dragons were summoned from the staff, roaring as they engulfed Wuji. Wuji was slowed by Ice Mirror, and it was impossible for him to dodge the AoE skill, Polar Double Dragon Burst. Just when Full Fire thought that Wuji was about to be killed by him and let his guard down, Wuji's HP bar was suddenly emptied by the Ice Dragon. An almost invisible light slowly flew out from Wuji's body, passing through the Ice Dragon and shooting towards Full Fire. Wuji, whose HP was low, was turned into a streak of white light by Ice Dragon and sent out of the arena. Full Firepower was so pleased with himself that he didn't notice Wuji's previous actions. Now that Wuji had disappeared, he didn't even have the slightest bit of defense in his heart. All he saw was the weak light that Wuji had summoned slowly land on Full Firepower's body. The next moment, Full Fire also turned into a white light and disappeared from the arena. What's going on? Full Fire wanted to strike a victory pose, but the scene in front of him changed. The trees around him suddenly became his teammates, and he was immediately stunned. You idiot, that cleric self-destructed. War is Peace covered his face helplessly when he saw Full Fire's dumbfounded expression. The move that Wuji had just used was a level 40 cleric skill called Reckoning. It reduced one's HP to 1, ignoring the target's defense in exchange for the same amount of HP. It was a very cheap skill, so it was commonly known as self-destruct. F***CK. When did that be *TCH self-destruct? Why didn't I know about it? Full Fire said gloomily. Although this skill looked very shameless, it had a lot of limitations. First of all, it couldn't be used against a class with more HP than the user. Second, this skill wasn't a directional skill, and its trajectory was very slow, making it easier to dodge. Therefore, unless the cleric was forcefully controlled and used the skill at close range, it was very easy to be discovered. However, Wuji didn't forcefully control the skill, nor did he stick close to the cleric. Full Fire was confused when he used the skill. War is Peace said. He self-destructed at the same time you used your ultimate skill. It seems that the punk let your skill hit him on purpose. From the limitations of Reckoning, it could be seen that without forcefully controlling the skill, even an expert like Wuji would have a hard time hitting Full Fire. However, clerics weren't a damage output class, and they only had one skill to defeat a mage. From this, it could be seen that Wuji intentionally got hit by the skill, drew Full Fire to use his ultimate skill, and then took advantage of the moment when Full Fire let down his guard. It was a well-designed trap. From the moment Wuji used the first skill, Full Fire had been led into the trap step by Wuji, be it in terms of physical or psychological. On purpose. Full Fire thought back to the scene just now, and a chill ran down his spine. This guy. Full Fire threw a punch, and couldn't help but glance at Xuanzhen, only to see Wuji looking back at him with a playful smile. The first round ended with the two dying together. In the second round, Mingdu and Burrowing Earth Soar were teleported into the arena at the same time. Burrowing Earth Soar was also an incredible expert, but he was killed by Baiming Yu in 2 or 3 moves because of the terrain and the lime powder. The current dense forest terrain was like a fish in water for Burrowing Earth Soar. After teleporting into the arena, Burrowing Earth Soar decisively entered stealth and became a hidden party. Mingdu was very cunning. Seeing Burrowing Earth Soar disappear, Mingdu waved his staff and flew up a tree. He also became a hidden party. War is Peace said that he had to be careful. So, Burrowing Earth Soar watched Mingdu fly up into the sky, feeling very sullen. Burrowing Earth Soar couldn't teleport, and if he wanted to climb up the tree, he would expose himself. Climbing a tree within a mage's attack range was purely looking for excitement. Burrowing Earth Soar didn't know what Mingdu was doing, and anxiously circled around the tree, not knowing what to do. Damn it! Is he trying to stall for time again? Seeing that the two people in the arena had no intention of fighting at all, the audience was furious. It was one thing for someone to stall for time in the first round, but there was also someone in the second round. Why did they always meet such people in the second round? No matter how bad Mingjian Daoxue and full of golden jade were, they could at least let the audience see the two of them show off their shamelessness, and they could just treat it as a comedy show. After Mingdu climbed up the tree, he closed his eyes and rested, looking like he was about to take a 40-minute nap. How could the audience not be angry? The audience's curses were so loud that the two people in the arena couldn't hear them. Even if they did, with Mingdu's personality, he would have the right to sing his own praises. Chapter 794. In the first round, Wuji and Firepower killed each other. Each team got 2 points. In the second round, the two of them stared blankly at each other and both got 0 points. The points competition had been a tradition for decades. Both of these situations had happened before, but this was the first time that these two situations had happened at the same time in a match. The motley crowd and the Raptor battle team had already been silently blacklisted by all the spectating players. Huh? It's over already? Mingdu, who had been teleported out of the arena, asked. Everyone looked at the audience on the arena who couldn't wait to throw shit at Mingdu and said with disdain, "If King slept till night, we'd be drowned in the sea of people's war today." Mingdu pointed his middle finger at the angry audience on the stage and laughed shamelessly, hee hee. They don't know sh*t, this is called strategy. Otherwise, we'll subdue the enemy with our weapons, you know? After the two of Mingdu left the battlefield, Chun Xiang and Windswept Cloud were teleported to the battlefield at the same time. These two probably didn't expect the first 2 rounds to be a draw. Looking at the two on the battlefield, Wuji frowned and said, "The other side has learned their lesson. They know not to face us head-on. I'm afraid this round won't be easy for Brother Chun." Compared to Whirling Cloud, Chun Xiang was a warlock. His attack range wasn't high enough, and his movement speed wasn't high enough. As a cloth armor class, his HP wasn't much higher than Whirling Cloud's, not to mention his damage. Whether it was burst damage or sustained damage, warlocks were far inferior to archers. Not to mention that his attributes were suppressed in all aspects. The dense forest terrain was even more disadvantageous for Chun Xiang, who didn't have any directional skills. This was because directional skills required a relatively high field of vision. If Windswept Cloud wanted to kite, Chun Xiang would definitely be at his wits' end. As expected, Windswept Cloud's personality was very stable, and he had been instilled with the mentality of just win, don't kill. As soon as the two entered the battlefield and met Chun Xiang, Windswept Cloud immediately turned around and distanced himself from Chun Xiang. When an archer learned shooting mastery at level 40, their shooting range would increase to 20 meters. Whirlwind was also a professional archer expert, so naturally, he would have a lot of equipment and skills that increased his shooting range. He only stopped when he was 30 meters away from Chun Xiang. Then, he turned behind a tree and found a shooting position. Soaring Spring's basic range was only 8 meters, and it only increased to 12 meters after reaching level 40. Compared to Remnant Wind and Cloud, this range was like heaven and earth. Not to mention, Chun Xiang did not even have a movement skill. At this moment, he had become a sitting duck for Remnant Storm. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Along with the sound of breaking air, Windstorm Cloud Remnant shot out 3 arrows in a row, forming a front and back triangular formation. Chun Xiang hurriedly bent down, and the 3 arrows brushed past his back and shot into the tree behind him. When Chun Xiang saw this, he quickly moved behind the tree, facing an archer with a long shooting range. Chun Xiang did not have the ability to advance. The only thing he could do now was to dodge. Fortunately, there were many trees in this dense forest, and there were many obstacles. Windswept Cloud Remnant's arrows were not so easy to hit. Standing behind the tree, Chun Xiang did not look as bad as he imagined. Seeing that Chun Xiang could only take a beating on the battlefield, Mingdu anxiously shouted, "Why didn't Cheap Spring fly over? Why didn't he summon his underlings?" Wuji said, "Because of the class suppression, Brother Chun knows that he can't win by force, so there is no need to waste his skills now." Can't win? Why can't he win? That kid can't hit him either, right? Mingdu was puzzled. Wuji smiled slightly and said, "You ignored the problem of vision." Vision? When Mingdu heard this, he hurriedly turned his gaze to the battlefield. He saw that after Whirlwind made a few false shots, he began to adjust his shooting angle. Seeing this scene, Mingdu suddenly reacted in this dim map, not to mention Chun Xiang hiding behind the tree. Even if the two of them were face to face, Chun Xiang would not be able to figure out Whirlwind's position. However, Storm Cloud Destroyer was different. As an archer, his vision was far better than other professions. Storm Cloud Destroyer could clearly see Chun Xiang's current position. As long as Chun Xiang made any movements, Storm Cloud Destroyer would be able to react in time. As for now, as long as Whirlwind adjusted his shooting angle, it was only a matter of time before he hit Chun Xiang. The warlock on the opposite side has no power to fight back. Little Wind seems to be winning. Flying Sky and Earth saw that Whirlwind began to adjust his shooting angle, but Chun Xiang could only hide behind the tree like a turtle. He could not help but be pleasantly surprised. The other members of the Raptor battle team also showed joy on their faces. In the third round, they could finally win for the first time. The audience on the stage was even more gratified. Although the battle between these two people was still boring, it was better than the two people who slept on the battlefield in the previous round. At least they did not have to wait for 40 minutes. However, the situation was not as simple as everyone thought. A crossbow was not a firearm. At a distance of 30 meters, the trajectory of the arrow could not be ignored. The larger the radius, the larger the circumference. At this time, Whirlwind adjusted his angle with the tree where Chun Xiang was hiding as the center. Naturally, the distance he ran was much longer than Chun Xiang. In order to prevent Chun Xiang from moving back and forth while he was adjusting the angle of his shots, Windstorm Remnant had been feigning his shots, attempting to give Chun Xiang the false impression that he was sincere enough to split metal and stone and wanted to shoot through the tree. But Whirlwind's angle changed half a circle from left to right, and he shot dozens of arrows around the tree, shooting in a semicircle. So many arrows, but none of them hit the target. Whirlwind was puzzled. Logically, with so many angles adjusted, and Chun Xiang had no vision, he should not be able to dodge. Could it be? Whirlwind thought of this and suddenly shook his head. He muttered to himself, "Impossible? How can there be such a person?" At the same time, the audience outside the arena was already in an uproar. Inside the arena, Whirlwind could not see Chun Xiang's movements behind the tree, but the players outside the arena could see it clearly. Chun Xiang held his staff in his right hand and a book in his left. He leaned against a tree and closed his eyes. The angle of the whirling cloud remnant seemed to be very clear. Every time the whirling cloud remnant shot an arrow, Chun Xiang would unhurriedly move his position. He would always be able to hide in the blind spot of the whirling cloud remnant before the arrow hit. Does that warlock have a cheat code? How can he dodge it every time? I don't know. This guy should be able to determine the target of the arrow. Determine the target shop? Nonsense, he didn't even look at the arrow. How can he determine the direction? As long as the arrow was in his field of vision, it was not difficult to determine the target of the arrow from such a long distance. But Chun Xiang's back was against the tree, and his eyes were closed. After all, Whirlwind was in Chun Xiang's field of vision. With Chun Xiang's movement speed, using his eyes to determine the target of the arrow was undoubtedly courting death. Could it be the legendary ability to determine location by listening to the wind? Chapter 795. Determining location by listening to the wind was a very high-end technique in games, especially in 3D online games. Everyone lost their omniscient view, and to know the opponent's position, they had to judge by the sound. It was said that in the earliest shooting games, CS, there were experts who could determine the distance of the opponent from the sound of their footsteps, and determine the opponent's weapon from the sound of their gun swapping. This talent was basically similar to cheating. However, that was only a legend. In the true sense, determining location by listening to the wind had to be done within a certain distance. Wind-swept cloud remnant was a full 30 meters away from Chun Xiang. At this distance, even Wang Yu could not determine location by listening to the wind, unless he heard the sound of an arrow piercing through the air. However, warlocks were not agile professions. With Chun Xiang's movement speed, he would be dead by the time he saw the arrow, let alone dodging the sound of the arrow piercing through the air. That was absolutely impossible. Wind-swept cloud remnant was a genuine expert, and his knowledge was extraordinary. Hence, at the start, he had also thought that Chun Xiang could determine location by listening to the wind. However, considering the distance between them, Wind-swept cloud remnant immediately discarded this absurd thought. Determine location by listening to the wind? Hearing this, the members of the Raptor team all revealed expressions of shock. Determine location by listening to the wind at a distance of 30 meters? What was the difference between this and cheating? Thinking up to this point, everyone looked at Chun Xiang as if they were looking at a monster. Even the people of Chuanjin were dumbfounded. What an amazing ability to determine location by listening to the wind. I've practiced martial arts for so many years, but I definitely can't do it. This time, Wang Yu was really shocked by Chun Xiang. All along, in Wang Yu's eyes, other than his outstanding calculation ability, Chun Xiang was just a wretched uncle. Unexpectedly, the ability he displayed now was something that even a martial arts expert like him had to admit that he was inferior to. A distance of 30 meters. How could a normal person have such hearing ability? Haha, old cow, you overestimate Brother Chun. This is not determining location by listening to the wind. Wuji laughed and said, "Didn't you see Brother Chun leaning against the tree? He's calculating the shooting angle." Calculating the angle? Hearing this, Wang Yu was even more incredulous. "That's right," Wuji said. He was leaning against the tree to listen to the impact of the arrow. Chun Xiang was a civil engineer in real life, and it was his professional instinct to determine the point of impact from the sound of impact. As a master of mental calculation, it was easy for him to calculate the movement speed and direction of tornado cloud from the point of impact and the frequency of impact of the arrows. At this time, the arrow shot by Windcloud Destroyer was like a bat's ultrasonic wave. Windcloud Destroyer's so-called feint to conceal his goal had undoubtedly clearly told Chun Xiang his position and the next shooting point. What was superfluous? Windcloud Destroyer was a classic example. Wuji and Chun Xiang had been friends for a long time. He was very familiar with Chun Xiang. Others might not be able to tell, but how could Wuji not see it? Of course, even so, Chun Xiang's terrifying computing ability still left everyone speechless. As expected of Brother Chun, you are indeed amazing. Mingdu praised sincerely. Cheap Spring had also become Brother Chun. Of course, Wuji said. Brother Chun usually doesn't use a calculator. He thinks that calculators are too slow, and this kind of simple calculation is child's play. What was the thing that Chun Xiang always said? It was to learn mathematics, physics, and chemistry, and not be afraid to travel the world. Windcloud Destroyer did not realize that playing a game required so much knowledge, and he did not believe that Chun Xiang had the ability to determine the position of a target by listening to the wind from 30 meters away. Therefore, Windcloud Destroyer completely blamed the shooting distance for not being able to hit Chun Xiang. Because the shooting distance was long, the trajectory time was long, and the target was easier to dodge. This was common sense. If I shoot at close range, He definitely won't be able to dodge. Windcloud Destroyer muttered to himself. He stopped shooting and began to move forward. At this time, the corner of Chun Xiang's mouth curled up. He took the bait. Windcloud Destroyer thought to himself, mages don't have range bonuses. After level 40, it only increases by 50%. The maximum range is 12 meters. I'm 20 meters away from him, but he still can't hit me. Thinking of this, Windcloud Destroyer calculated the distance as he moved forward step by step. When he was 20 meters away from Chun Xiang's hiding place, he saw Chun Xiang walk out from behind a tree. Humph, courting death. Windcloud Destroyer snorted coldly. He drew his bow, aimed at Chun Xiang, and used the archer's level 40 skill, heart-piercing arrow. The arrow was like a meteor, shooting toward Chun Xiang. Windcloud Destroyer secretly clenched his fist. If this arrow hit, no matter how Chun Xiang dodged, it would not matter. As long as the arrow caused damage and dragged out the time, Windcloud Destroyer would win. But just as Windcloud Destroyer's arrow was about to hit, Chun Xiang suddenly turned into a cloud of black mist. Windcloud Destroyer's arrow passed through Chun Xiang and hit a tree. Over there! Chun Xiang, who had turned into mist, floated up. When he saw the arrow, he instantly determined the direction of Windcloud Destroyer. Windcloud Destroyer shot a few arrows at Chun Xiang. Seeing that his attacks were ineffective, he was shocked. Just as he turned around to run, his body suddenly sank. Green appeared from head to toe, and it was as if his feet were stuck in mud. He could not run at all. How is this possible? Windcloud Destroyer was shocked. Chun Xiang was clearly 20 meters away from him. How could he poison himself? When Windcloud Destroyer looked back in horror, he was almost scared out of his wits. He saw a monster with a human face and a snake's body appear behind him. It was this monster that had attacked Windcloud Destroyer. This monster was Chun Xiang's pet, Angela. It was true that Chun Xiang's range was only 12 meters, but as a magic pet, Angela's range was also 12 meters. Windcloud Destroyer's position was just within Chun Xiang's attack range. Before Windcloud Destroyer could recover from his shock, Chun Xiang ordered Angela to transform. Angela instantly turned into a giant python and quickly rolled toward Windcloud Destroyer. Windcloud Destroyer was poisoned, and his movement speed decreased by 70%. It was impossible for him to run, so he hurriedly drew his bow and shot. Angela was a boss. Although it was weakened and its stats were not as good as before, it still would not die so easily. Angela rushed to the front of the Tornado Cloud Remnant while withstanding the shots of the Tornado Cloud Remnant. His huge body wrapped around the Tornado Cloud Remnant tightly. Windcloud Destroyer, who was entangled, could not move other than his mouth. At that time, Chun Xiang had calmly arrived and threw skills at Windcloud Destroyer. The archer did not have much HP. Under the ravages of Chun Xiang's poison, Windcloud Destroyer painfully turned into a ball of white light, while Chun Xiang was still full HP. Full HP kill? Seeing this scene, everyone's jaws dropped. Whether it was in terms of class or map, Windcloud Destroyer suppressed Chun Xiang in all aspects, but the final result was so unbelievable. Chapter 796. How is this possible? The members of the Raptor team were all dumbfounded when they saw this result. Even War is Peace didn't expect this outcome. The battle plan was War is Peace. It was based on the classes of both sides. No one could compare to War is Peace. Understanding the difference between the two classes, if Wind Swirl Cloud could make good use of the terrain, let alone defeating Spring Soar, who posed the least threat, it might even be possible for him to 1v5. But this match was so inconceivable. A class that didn't specialize in agility had dodged all the attacks from the class with the highest agility. This was something that no one had expected. Little Feng, you must have been careless, right? Fly still couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. The moment Wind is Peace came out, Fly rushed up to question him. The Raptor battle team's strength was definitely one of the best in the city of War God. Even large guilds would not rashly provoke them. As one of the 12 Raptors, Remnant's strength could not be doubted. However, Remnant had lost so miserably even though his side had the complete advantage. He refused to believe that Remnant could fly. Feng Wan Yunkin said dejectedly, "At first, I really didn't think much of him, but later on, I definitely put in 120% of my effort. That guy was too strong. I had a feeling of powerlessness the entire time." Too strong. Hearing Wind is Peace's words, Fly is Peace was slightly stunned. "That's right, it's not that little Feng is too weak, but that Chun Xiang guy is too strong." War is Peace said, "Let's not talk about this guy's ability to locate by listening to the wind, but in terms of controlling the field, this guy's every move seemed to have been carefully calculated. He was completely in control, and even the rhythm of the battle was accurate to within 0.1 seconds. There aren't many pro players who are this strong." At this point, War is Peace turned to look at Wuji not far away and said, "What's more frightening is that in Chuanjin, other than this Chun Xiang, that guy called Wuji isn't any weaker than him. It's not hard to understand why a small guild can have 2 people like that. They can suppress blood alliance with just a dozen or so people. If it was me, I wouldn't provoke this kind of person." No wonder Little Fish was willing to join their team. 7th Brother. Hearing that War was Peace, Fei Tian was at a loss for words. In the arena, Chun Xiang had already started his 4th match. Chun Xiang constantly revealed his wretched nature. When the 3rd match ended, he hid near his opponent's spawn point and calculated the time. When the 4th match began, he immediately threw out a dark barrier. Team Raptor's 4th player, Rain and Dew, was a cleric. His one-on-one combat ability was far inferior to Chun Xiang's. Chun Xiang was a priest hidden class, great sage. He knew everything that Rain and Dew knew, and he also knew everything that Rain and Dew didn't know. At this time, he made the first move and gained the upper hand. As soon as Rain and Dew entered the battlefield, he was controlled by Chun Xiang from behind. Following which, Chun Xiang unleashed a flurry of skills, controlling and attacking at the same time. Even the Rain and Dew were unable to touch Chun Xiang. Before Chun Xiang could even see what he looked like, he had been turned into a white light. Another full HP kill. This time, everyone wasn't as shocked as before. After all, it was widely acknowledged that priests had low combat power. The 5th round, the Grandmaster of Combat's invincible Iron Fist Grandmasters of Combat had always been known to be trash, and Warlocks were a class that countered Grandmasters of Combat. The result was obvious. Chun Xiang repeated what he had done, controlling first and then attacking, not giving Invincible Iron Fist any chance. Invincible Iron Fist was knocked off the stage in less than half a minute. Following the system's announcement, the audience outside the arena almost went wild. 1 versus 3 at full HP. This kind of score usually happened in a one-sided match. Even in a one-sided match, it was extremely difficult to kill 3 people at full HP. But who was Chuanjin's opponent? Team Raptor. This was one of the top teams in the city of War God, and it was done in an away game with a disadvantage in their class. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, almost no one would believe what they were seeing. Although everyone had wasted a lot of time watching 2 of the most boring matches in history, being able to see the last 3 matches made the trip worthwhile. Next was the 3rd team match. The Motley Crew won the 2nd match 13-2. The score was already over 25 points. According to the rules, the winner was already decided. The reason why there was a 3rd match wasn't just to make Team Raptor lose so badly, but because there was a revival match later on. The eliminated team with the highest score would be able to participate in the revival match. Of course, it was up to Team Raptor to decide whether or not to participate in the 3rd match. When the system asked if War is Peace wanted to proceed to the 3rd match, War is Peace decisively chose to give up. There was no other reason. Team matches were competitions that tested a player's tactics and overall strength the most. In the first two matches, Chuanjin had won as the underdog. Not only did they surpass Team Raptor in terms of individual strength, but their tactics were also an eye-opener for War is Peace. With Wuji and Chun Xiang, these two terrifying existences, Team Raptor had completely lost their will to fight. Moreover, so what if they won the revival match? In the end, they still had to face these guys. Rather than embarrassing themselves to the end, it was better to know when to retreat. In the first round of preliminaries, Chuanjin easily won. Team Raptor's strength was already at the top among the grassroots players. Although they lost to Chuanjin, they were still much better than the average team. Following that, Chuanjin's battles could be said to be easy and simple. They won 3 rounds in a row and successfully advanced to the quarterfinals. Chuanjin's team also left a deep impression on all the players present. Being able to advance in the first round, Chuanjin was overjoyed. They bragged about how brave they were in the guild channel. Only Wang Yu's face was full of resentment, and he didn't say a word. Niu Gu, how many rounds did you win? Chopper 345 asked curiously when he saw Wang Yu not saying a word. Wang Yu said angrily, Wuji, that be *tch, he didn't let me go up. Because they had won 2 rounds in all 3 rounds, whether it was the duels or the wheel race, Wang Yu didn't have a chance to go up. This made this battle maniac depressed. Chopper 345 paused and said regretfully, what a pity, if Niu Gu went up, he would definitely be better. Of course. Wang Yu first shamelessly praised himself, then he clenched his fist and threatened Wuji. Damn, if you don't let me go up tomorrow, I'll kill all of you. Wuji said bitterly, then we're dead. Is it so hard for you to let me go up once? Wang Yu broke down. Because the next 3 days are Group B, C, D, and D, and the quarterfinals are in 3 days, Wuji said. Damn! Wang Yu clenched his fist. Then you must let me go up next time. Chapter 797. It could be said that Wuji and the others had never liked to play in competitions all these years. It was indeed a waste of time. The upper limit of a match was 40 minutes. There were 5 rounds in a match and 11 rounds in a round. Teams with a fast tempo would need close to an hour to determine a winner. If a team with a slow tempo encountered a shameless person like Ming Du, they would need tens of minutes in a match. It was only the first round of the preliminaries, and Quan Zhen had been in the arena for more than 10 hours, starting from 8 in the morning. If it wasn't for the support of the big guilds, no one would waste time on this. It was already 8 or 9 at night when Wang Yu logged off the game after exiting the arena. Mu Zixin was cooking in the kitchen, and Wang Yu had nothing to do, so he held his computer and browsed the forums. Ever since he became a professional gamer, Wang Yu only had these 2 types of entertainment. He would play games online, and he would browse the forums offline. He was becoming more and more like a normal gamer. At this time, the forums had already been flooded with the results of the preliminaries. Regardless of whether it was the main forums or the main city forums, there were posts about the preliminaries everywhere. On the first day of the preliminaries, many surprising dark horse teams had appeared in all 15 servers. Of course, they were grassroots teams after all, and there weren't many who were truly outstanding. Most of them were more down to earth, so they were hyped up. However, it wasn't as if there weren't any truly powerful teams. For example, there was a team called One Hand Covering the Sky in Zone 15, which made Wang Yu's eyes light up. Among these dark horse teams, Chuanjin's motley crew was also impressively in the list, especially Chun Xiang's battle video of him fighting 3 people at full health by listening to the wind, which had been pushed to second place. Above Chun Xiang's video was a video called The Real Grandmaster of Combat. The name of the video wasn't attractive at all, but Wang Yu still couldn't help but click on it. Firstly, the word Grandmaster of Combat was more attractive to Wang Yu. Secondly, Wang Yu also wanted to see what kind of god could actually suppress Chun Xiang. Wang Yu was stunned when he clicked on the information on the team. The team in the video was a grassroots team from Server 2 called Unparalleled Combat. The specific player information was not shown, only the player's level and class were shown. The average level of Unparalleled Combat's players was only around 40. Compared to other teams at this stage of the game, they were slightly behind. What made Wang Yu even more incredulous was that this team was actually made up of a bunch of Grandmasters of Combat. Damn, the game was all about balance. Not a single warrior, mage, priest, thief, or archer could be left out. Moreover, the advantages of Grandmasters of Combat could not be fully utilized at this stage. If the entire team was made up of Grandmasters of Combat, wouldn't that be asking for a beating? Seeing this, Wang Yu couldn't help but click on the battle video. For a level 40 Grandmaster of Combat team to be able to reach first place, there must be something special about him. As expected, when he opened the video, Wang Yu saw an extremely familiar figure. That player's moves were extremely fierce, his priority was shockingly high, and he looked a little handsome. Isn't this that Cloud? At this moment, Mu Zixuan brought food into the bedroom and could not help but ask when she saw the player in the video. Yes, it's Nian Luyun. This kid has disappeared for so long, so he's formed a team now. Wang Yu stood up and took the plate from Mu Zixuan's hands while turning his head to stare at Nian Luyun in the video. Hiss! Mu Zixuan saw Nian Luyun grabbing his opponent and smashing him around in the video. It was unbelievably powerful. He was so shocked that he took a deep breath and said, "This person is so strong." Although Mu Zixuan's own skills were mediocre, after being in Chuanjin for so long, his standards were still very high. He had never seen any Grandmaster of Combat with such strong judgment. Even Wang Yu did not say that he could grab his opponent and smash them around. Yup, Wang Yu said, this guy's class is grappler, and all his skills are grab skills. His priority is ridiculously high. Moreover, this guy is an expert in Kung Fu, so it's normal for him to have such skills. If he's that strong, can you beat him? Mu Zixuan asked with some surprise. Mu Zixuan naturally did not doubt Wang Yu in real life, but it was different in the game. A pure PvP class like Nian Luyun had an advantage over any other class. Wang Yu said, "He's no problem, but I'm most worried about the others in his team." Others? Mu Zixuan was puzzled. Who? Are they stronger than him? I can't say for sure, but they're definitely difficult to deal with. As he said that, Wang Yu pointed to a female player in the video who was unparalleled in combat and said, "Do you know her?" This. Mu Zixuan saw the girl's appearance and his pupils shrank. Isn't that Li Yujie? Mu Zixuan had a very deep impression of this strong girl. It's her. Wang Yu said, Nian Liyun's real name is Li Yunyan, and this girl is Nian Liyun's older sister. Don't be fooled by her personality, her kung fu is unparalleled in the younger generation. She's that strong? What about you? Mu Zixuan saw Wang Yu's evaluation of this girl, and couldn't help but ask. Wang Yu said, I'm different from her. My opponents are experts from the older generation. Are you blowing your own trumpet? Mu Zixuan's face darkened. Wang Yu said with certainty, You can't ignore this fact. Mu Zixuan, these guys over there are also descendants of famous families. Their kung fu isn't bad, and they aren't much weaker than Little Yang. Wang Yu pointed at the others. Mu Zixuan looked in the direction of Wang Yu's finger and saw two familiar faces. These two idiots were the ones who had challenged Old Tong to a duel that day. You're saying that this team's players are all kung fu practitioners? Seeing Unparalleled Combat's luxurious composition, Mu Zixuan was stunned. As the person closest to Wang Yu, Mu Zixuan knew how useful kung fu was in the game. Just Yang Na alone was an archer, and she could easily beat up a few normal players in close combat. She originally thought that Xuanzhen having two people like this was already amazing. She didn't think that Xuanzhen could pull out more than 10 of them, and all of them were at Yang Na's level. This was too, yeah, Wang Yu said, no wonder they're all grandmasters of combat. If we meet them in the Pro League, we'll have a hard time. If it was a 1v1, Wang Yu had absolute confidence that he could beat any one of them. Even if all of them came at him together, Wang Yu wouldn't be afraid. But the problem was that the only player in Xuanzhen's team that could match up to these people was Yang Na. The Pro League also used a point system. Apart from the group battles, the other two battles couldn't be controlled by a single person. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.